Chapter 691, Quartet Sparrow Battle Tactic. Hay Tribe, Iron Eagle Blessed Land. This was Hay Tribe's base camp. The Blessed Land was huge and extensive, it was small at the bottom and large at the top. Find new. Because of Hay Tribe's first-generation ancestors' unique specialties, Iron Eagle Blessed Land had little land, but the higher up in the air one went, the larger the space. A sky that greatly exceeded that of ordinary blessed lands had countless circular wooden eagle nests floating in it. These eagle nests were like small hills, innumerable iron eagles rested in them. The cries of eagles resounded endlessly. When a group of eagles flew, vast numbers of them traveled in formation. It was a spectacular view. At the highest part of this blessed land, there was a garden. The garden's artificial mountain had a pavilion on it. In the pavilion, four supreme elders of Hay Tribe were sitting around a square stone table. They had differing expressions. First Supreme Elder had a solemn expression, Second Supreme Elder was shutting his eyes and resting, Third Supreme Elder was thinking with a troubled expression, Fourth Supreme Elder's face was full of sweat. The atmosphere was heavy, it was like the calm before the storm. My dear Lord Third Elder, how long are you going to continue thinking? Fourth Supreme Elder urged with an impatient tone. Rush, 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 you only know how to rush me, don't you know this is a crucial moment? At this point, if I make the wrong move, my dozens of years of hard work would go down the drain. Third Supreme Elder yapped away, his emotions becoming even more agitated. He looked at First Supreme Elder in front of him, before looking at Second Supreme Elder to the left. Both of them had unchanging expressions. Third Supreme Elder could not discern anything from their faces and the pressure in his heart intensified. Right at this time, a figure slowly rose from below, quickly approaching this pavilion. Hay Tribe's Second Supreme Elder opened a slit in each of his eyes, saying slowly, "Oh, Hay Cheng is back." Hay Cheng entered the pavilion and paid respects to the four Supreme Elders. These four Supreme Elders had deeper foundations than him in both status and cultivation. But with regards to battle strength, it was unknown until they fought seriously. But within the tribe, Gu Immortal would spar at most, how could they fight seriously? Furthermore, in righteous path forces, other than Central Continent sect system, the other four regions looked at bloodline and seniority within their clans and tribes. Even if Hay Cheng had higher battle strength, he would still need to respect them as a junior when he sees these four Supreme Elders. First Elder, this is Dark Prison, I am returning it now. Hay Cheng took out the rank 6 Immortal Gu house and returned it to First Supreme Elder after paying respects to them. First Supreme Elder took the Immortal Gu house Dark Prison, exclaiming, "You did not use Dark Prison, it seems your operation was very successful." Saying this, First Supreme Elder's gaze was still fixed on the stone table, he was only asking Hay Cheng casually. Hay Cheng laughed, "It was very fortunate, this time the trip was smooth sailing, we have successfully suppressed Xiao Tribe." Xiao Tribe was a large-sized tribe, because all of Hay Tribe's members inside Imperial Court Blessed Land had perished. Xiao Tribe which was under them had become tempted to try and leave their control. Humph, Xiao Tribe's Gu Immortal, Xiao Dong, became an immortal due to my guidance back then. It has only been a few decades, his loyalty has wavered. Second Supreme Elder said plainly. Therefore, this time, I struck and taught that Xiao Dong a lesson. Within 5 years, there should be no issues. Hay Cheng laughed calmly. The suppression of Xiao Tribe was an excuse Hay Cheng had prepared long ago. Hay Cheng wanted to deal with his own daughter, Hay Lu Lan. This was not a righteous thing to do, he could only do it secretly. He had planned to use Dark Prison to suppress Hay Lu Lan, preventing her from self-detonating. But he could not directly say this to the First Supreme Elder. Thus, he used Xiao Tribe as an excuse, saying, in order to prevent any accidents when suppressing Xiao Tribe, he borrowed Dark Prison. 5 years. Second Supreme Elder chuckled, shaking his head, Northern Plains is in a complete mess now, Yang building collapsed, the culprit has not been found. While the Immortal Gu have been appearing constantly, all the different forces are fighting intensely. Especially now, Qin Bai Xing's incident is becoming more heated. This involves Giant Sun's inheritance. Even those rank 8 old fossils are getting ready to strike. Fourth Supreme Elder sighed, Yang building collapsed, Imperial Court Blessed Land was destroyed as well, the Imperial Court contest has lost its meaning. What do we do from now on? All of the Huang Jin tribes, what procedures will they follow, we have no idea. He Qing understood their intentions after hearing this, he lowered his head, Junior understands, I will be more strict in handling the tribes, especially Qiao tribe, Hua tribe, and Zhua tribe, these 3 vassals. That's right, this time, the entirety of He tribe died inside Imperial Court Blessed Land. There cannot be no display of He tribe in Northern Plains. He Qing, go out into the Blessed Land and pick carefully, bring a portion of the tribesmen out and rebuild He tribe in Northern Plains. Third Supreme Elder thought about his tough problem as he gave his view on this matter. Yes, don't worry Third Elder. I have already started preparing. In half a month, Northern Plains He tribe will be rebuilt. He Qing answered. Alright, let He Qing handle the matters of the mortal tribe affairs, we have no worries. Third Supreme Elder, if you have the time to care about this, why don't you decide on the problem ahead? What tile are you playing? Fourth Supreme Elder urged. Third Supreme Elder's gaze flickered, he was very hesitant, but he finally gritted his teeth and made up his mind, playing a tile. At the same time, he called out, 3 Tiao. Immediately, all the other elders had differing expressions. First Supreme Elder could not stay serious anymore, he laughed loudly, flipping over his tiles, haha, I won. Arg. Third Supreme Elder patted his leg with much force, he grabbed his snow-white beard as he sighed, if I knew, I would not have played 3 Tiao, but 6 Wan instead. After hearing this, Second Supreme Elder stared with his eyes wide open, he turned over his own tiles, saying to Supreme Third Elder, then play 6 Wan, my set could have won with either 4 Wan or 6 Wan. Alright, enough, stop arguing. Quickly make the deal, I'm waiting to recoup my losses. Fourth Supreme Elder said impatiently. Here, this is the Gu recipe that I researched after spending 30 years. Third Supreme Elder admitted his loss, he slammed 1 East Window Gu on the table in front of First Supreme Elder. First Supreme Elder took the East Window Gu, alright, let's go to the next round. Same rules, we are not to use any Gu worms to cheat. We will state the wager first, I have 2 Immortal Essence Stones. Ancient Gu recipe of Crescent Moon Gu. 20 pieces of Grey Heart Rock. A group of Dragon Eye Fish, there is a Fish Emperor included. Swish swish swish. 8 arms swept around the stone table, shuffling the tiles. He Qing was silently standing at the side, he was very used to these 4 He tribe Supreme Elders' gambling habits. The game they were playing was called Quartet Sparrow Battle Tactic, it was invented by a mortal genius back in earlier years of He tribe, mainly to bootlick the first Supreme Elder. After First Supreme Elder obtained it, he had been playing it daily with the other 3 Supreme Elders, competing and engaging in battle. He tribe's external affairs were almost all handled by He Qing. Then, Elders, Junior will take his leave. He Qing said. Go, go. The Supreme Elders waved their hands, they had started assembling their hand tiles as they replied to him half-heartedly. A group of iron eagles flew outside the pavilion, they were screeching as suddenly, the eagle group spread and 3 desolate eagles appeared, with battle strength equivalent to rank 6. One was a dragon eagle with a powerful aura, while the other 2 were iron crown eagles, having great spirit. Shoo, shoo. Third Supreme Elder waved his sleeves unhappily, so noisy. He. First Supreme Elder had a kind and merciful smile, he waved his sleeves and a lot of food was sprinkled in the air. The eagle group made happy cries, fighting for the food in the air. He Qing left Iron Eagle blessed land, flying towards the southwest direction. After flying for several minutes, he met Xianxia. Xianxia had rested sufficiently, he no longer looked as pathetic as before, but he sighed when he saw He Qing. The situation has become troublesome. I just obtained some information. Do you know which force has control of fixed immortal travel Immortal Gu? He Qing replied, you want to say, Immortal Crane sect of Central Continent's 10 ancient sects. You already knew. When? Xianxia was slightly unhappy. He Lulan snorted coldly, not too long ago. Earlier, Dong Fang Chang Fan deduced that 88 True Yang buildings matter was related to Central Continent. Now, He Lulan has a mysterious immortal zombie around her that controls fixed immortal travel. They are likely the same batch of people. Xianxia's eyes narrowed, he fell into silence. Honestly speaking, this information caught him off guard. He originally thought that they were dealing with a small mortal woman. To think that such a huge force like Immortal Crane sect was involved now. Although he had joined Snowy Mountain, this was only a loose alliance. Demonic Path Gu immortals were usually selfish and only cared about self-interest. They were not as united as the righteous path. He Cheng's predicament was very awkward as well. Although he was a He tribe Gu immortal, something as shameless as targeting his own daughter could not be known to everyone. Even though many righteous path Gu immortals were two-faced and usually acted differently in public, they at least appeared righteous to the world. He Cheng's matter could not be exposed, thus he could only act alone. Even dark prison had to be borrowed using an excuse. I wanted to kill a cat, but to think I messed with a tiger. He Cheng, I don't care. Since your secret is in my hands, I want 500 immortal essence stones. Give me a copy of the Yinyang life extension method as well. Xianxia broke the silence, his expression was ruthless. He was not sincerely working with He Qing in the first place. After realizing that Fang Yuan and others had deep backgrounds, he wanted to retreat now. A cold light flashed in He Cheng's eyes, he stared at Xianxia as he said slowly, you know my situation. If you force me, at most, both of us will go down, you will get nothing. You. Aren't you afraid? If I cannot catch He Lulan, I cannot gain lifespan, I am about to die, why would I care about reputation? Xianxia was shivering in fury after hearing He Cheng's unscrupulous words, his eyes were bloodshot. Who could have thought that the Grand Lord He Qing is actually like this? He Qing shrugged nonchalantly, think what you want. Xianxia, you were too naive. At this point, do you think you can keep out of this matter? He Lulan takes revenge very seriously, she has Fairy Li Shan backing her. Do you think Snowy Mountain would care about you, the 7th Peak's branch head, as opposed to the 3rd leader? There is something else I want to tell you. Central Continent's Gu immortals are ready to strike. The 10 great ancient sects have created an allied force to charge into Northern Plains. Right now, the entirety of Northern Plains is in chaos. I'm sure that with Fairy Li Shan's skills, it would not be hard for her to use the Central Continent Gu immortals as an excuse to indirectly kill you. That does not violate the Snowy Mountain Union Pact, right? Xianxia's expression paled. Chapter 692, The Hard to Deal with He Tribe Father and Daughter. He Qing, you are actually threatening me. Rub me the wrong way and I will make sure all your dirty deeds are known by the whole world. Xianxia was furious. He Qing sneered, go ahead, do it quickly. Truthfully speaking, Su Xian'er was your Snowy Mountain's pawn, intentionally arranged to get close to me and infiltrate He tribe's higher level. The so-called Su Xian's night elopement is no more than a conspiracy. Not long later, Su tribe was annihilated. Did you think it was my He tribe that had a hand in it? You guys from Snowy Mountain did it to conclude matters for Xianxia, clearing away all the traces. What? This, why haven't I heard of it? Xianxia showed an incredulous look upon hearing this astonishing piece of news. What would you know? You are only the owner of the 7th branch peak. The higher levels of Snowy Mountain always has only had 3 decision makers. I know you don't believe me, but I have conclusive proof. He Qing took out an East Window Gu and threw it to Xianxia. Xianxia took the East Window Gu and cast his consciousness into it. A while later, his forehead was filled with cold sweat. He Qing gazed at the sky and heaved a long sigh, revealing a bleak look. Back then, I was publicly recognized as a Gu immortal seed, but it was because I was ignorant at my young age that I fell into the conspiracy. Su Xian's night elopement, Su Xian's night elopement is nothing more than a meticulously planned conspiracy for the demonic and righteous paths to infiltrate each other. I married Su Xian'er, we had Lu Lan. I truly thought the days would keep on passing by blissfully. However, one day, a Gu immortal suddenly appeared before me and threw the conclusive evidence to me. And what you are looking at is only a portion of this evidence. How can this be? How can this be? Xianxia mumbled. This evidence turned everything upside down. Even if He Qing used the yin-yang life extension method to scheme against his own wife, this was actually a matter of enmity between righteous and demonic. He Qing's action of taking down his family when justice demanded it would not create reproach but instead be praised and admired. You set me up. You set me up. Xianxia pointed at He Qing in extreme fury. He had thought he was the one holding the initiative by having a handle on He Qing, but he had never expected to be instead entrapped by He Qing. Xianxia naively followed He Qing to hunt He Lu Lan and battle Fairy Li Shan, causing his current worrying plight. He Lu Lan, Fairy Li Shan as well as Central Continent's ancient sect force became a shadow that refused to leave Xianxia's mind. He Qing restrained his feelings and looked at Xianxia, and now, I have a new piece of evidence. Do you remember when He Lu Lan was transcending the tribulation, how did she address Fairy Li Shan? Fairy Li Shan and Su Xian'er are likely to have a blood relation. I have Su Xian'er's blood with me and also He Lu Lan's blood. I will have additional conclusive proof when we confront Snowy Mountain in the future. Xianxia breathed roughly before he was able to forcibly calm down. Good, He Qing, you are truly outstanding. I had not even extorted you of a few dozens of immortal essence stones but was pulled into this messy business by you, being plunged into your trap. Right, I must acknowledge that even if you take actions against He Lu Lan, making every attempt to capture her, it could just be brushed off as a father educating his daughter who hopes she would be aware of her mistakes. As long as you don't use the yin-yang life extension method on He Lu Lan, I won't have any real handle on you. But, your scheme can only stop here. You are a lone force while the other has joined hands with a Central Continent influence. He Lu Lan has already become a strength path extreme physique immortal, it is now even more difficult for you to capture her. He Qing sank into silence. Xianxia continued explaining, his thoughts becoming keener, my situation is worrisome but your days also won't pass by well. You harmed Su Xian'er, He Lu Lan's hatred runs extremely deeply, and who is to say Central Continent's force also won't look to trouble you. Thus, you two are tied together, and you only have a hope of victory if you cooperate with my side. A female voice suddenly interrupted Xianxia and He Qing's conversation. Who is this? Xianxia was truly startled. A graceful figure slowly appeared. This was a female Gu immortal who was wearing purple garments. She was charming and lovely, and her beautiful face showed a light smile. Xianxia was not someone with poor knowledge and after being dazed for a moment, he reacted, so it is Fairy Jiangyu. He then looked towards He Qing. All of Northern Plains Gu immortals knew that Fairy Jiangyu was He Cheng's 27th concubine, who was similarly a Dark Path Gu immortal, and possessed Dark Limit Immortal Gu, which could conceal inspirations and make it difficult for others to make deductions. The reason why He Lu Lan was able to hold on for so long, and not explode because of the great strength true martial physique, was because Fairy Jiangyu had used Dark Limit Immortal Gu to seal the aura of one of the 10 extreme physiques on He Lu Lan, preventing its induction within heaven and earth. However, who would have thought that upon seeing Fairy Jiangyu, He Cheng's attitude would turn extremely cold? He snorted, as expected, "You came." Many years ago, when I first brought evidence regarding Su Xian's night elopement to you, I had said, "I will appear when you need me." Fairy Jiangyu revealed a mysterious smile, "So what do you think? Like I said before, you won't be able to capture He Lu Lan by just yourself, you will instead only create a bigger commotion. You can only cooperate with my side to have hope." Shuesong Zi looked at He Cheng, then at Jiangyu, his gaze traveling back and forth between them. He was shocked at how He Cheng and Jiangyu were conversing. Fairy Jiangyu's identity was not ordinary, and seemed to be a representative of a mysterious force. The reason He Cheng could know of the deceit that was Su Xian's night elopement was because of Fairy Jiangyu's notice. He Cheng lowered his eyes. Fairy Jiangyu was able to appear so close to him without being discovered. This caused He Cheng's apprehension of Jiangyu to deepen by a layer. Fairy Jiangyu was on the surface a lone cultivator of Northern Plains, and He Cheng's beloved concubine, but in truth was shrouded in a fog of mystery. He Cheng fell into deep thought. He was not at all afraid of Fang Yuan's myriad self-army and actually had some disdain towards it inwardly. Despite not having methods to confront it head-on, Gu Immortal Combat paid attention to contests in every aspect. Just based on how the myriad self-army was not able to chase down He Cheng, its threat had heavily decreased to him. In the previous battle, if not for He Lu Lan's side taking the initiative to retreat, He Cheng would have no doubt occupied the upper hand when the strength path phantoms dissipated and could even turn around the situation to a victorious one. Even Shuesong Zi, who had been fleeing in disarray from the myriad self, was not worried about fighting Fang Yuan again. The reason was that myriad self was an immortal killer move. Fang Yuan's immortal essence expenditure was too high, and in spite of this it did not have true killing power. Shuesong Zi could just activate mortal killer moves to resist it. After this was repeated a few times, how much more immortal essence could Fang Yuan, as an immortal zombie, still have? Once his immortal essence was expended, Shuesong Zi could display his might and settle affairs with Fang Yuan. He Cheng's apprehension was towards Fang Yuan's background, to Immortal Crane sect, and Central Continent's Gu immortals. He also had not expected that his investigation of fixed immortal travel would involve such a colossus. Dong Fang Chang Fan had already deduced that the collapse of 88 True Yang building was due to the workings of Central Continent's Gu immortals. Central Continent's Gu immortals could destroy even giant Sun Immortal Venerable's arrangements. Let alone with the insignificant He Cheng. Like He Cheng, Shuesong Zi also had similar worries. They were both scared by Fang Yuan's background. If they knew Immortal Crane's sect was thinking of every possible means to deal with Fang Yuan, they absolutely would not be this nervous. Looking at the present situation, it seems we can only have the chance of success by collaborating with your side. But before cooperating, as a fundamental part of good faith, shouldn't you tell me which force you are representing? He Cheng asked Fairy Jiangyu after pondering for a while. Find new Tories on nov/el-bin.com. Fairy Jiangyu thought for a moment. She knew He Cheng was an uncompromising person. If she lied or refused, he would probably just turn around and abruptly leave. She decided to tell the truth. Well, there is no harm in telling you. The force I represent is spread throughout the 5 regions and its name is Shadow Sect. He Cheng and Shuesong Zi glanced at each other. Central Continent, who immortal blessed land. 28 green grape immortal essence and half an immortal essence stone. Fang Yuan calculated the wealth he had remaining. After going through the battle during He Lu Lan's tribulation, Fang Yuan's hard-earned and accumulated funds immediately returned to their original state. Before the battle, Fang Yuan had 91 beads of green grape immortal essence, but he had activated the killer move Myriad itself close to 50 times, to form an army of nearly 500,000 strength path phantoms. During the battle, Fang Yuan repeatedly used Delight in Water and Mountain Immortal Gu, Worldly Wave Trace and other Immortal Gu, consuming over a dozen beads of green grape immortal essence. Thus, the remaining green grape immortal essence did not even total 30 beads. I still owe Fairy Li Shan 15 immortal essence stones and 15 immortal essence stones to Xianxia Land Spirit as well. I can delay the payment to Fairy Li Shan as long as necessary. But I need to return the immortal essence stones I owe to Xianxia Land Spirit as soon as possible. If it is delayed, the interest will only get higher. Fang Yuan's relationship with Xianxia Land Spirit was still only ordinary. When Xianxia Land Spirit lent immortal essence stones to Fang Yuan, although he did not demand an exorbitant price, but he still, as per convention, took a 10% interest. That is to say, Fang Yuan would have to return at least 16.5 immortal essence stones to Xianxia Land Spirit. If a month passed, another 1.5 immortal essence stone would have to be added. 2 months was 3 immortal essence stones and so on. Even if a month did not pass, he would still have to pay 1.5 immortal essence stones. This was the minimum interest. How could outsiders lend money for no reason and without any benefits? The alliance between Fang Yuan, Fairy Li Shan and the others had an agreement. When one side helps other, the price they paid would be doubly compensated. This agreement had been implemented in Fang Yuan's first battle with He Cheng. However, this time, Fang Yuan did not just pay a price, he also obtained enormous benefits. His strength path realm advanced to Grandmaster level, he raised transformation path from practically nothing to master level, while his flying attainment advanced to quasi-Grandmaster level. Adding in small family Qi Gu and the 15 immortal essence stones exempted from the debt, these benefits had far surpassed the price Fang Yuan had paid, thus Fairy Li Shan did not compensate. Thinking back now, He Lu Lan might have intentionally set this situation up, attempting to use the Demon Venerable's realm's true meaning to make me work myself to the bone. Now that Fang Yuan recalled the situation, he felt he had fallen in He Lu Lan's scheme. If not for the Demon Venerable's true meaning, Fang Yuan absolutely would not have spent so much green grape immortal essence and formed such a large strength path phantom army. If the situation was not good, Fang Yuan could have even retreated. After all, the alliance agreement had no clause that said one had to fight till death. The Snowy Mountain Alliance was quite lenient. Fang Yuan had vaguely felt this during the battle. But this was an upright plot. Even if Fang Yuan discovered He Lu Lan's attempt, he would have still dived right in, because the benefits were just that great. Chapter 693, Fighting is just a part of cultivating. In the underground cave, the air was filled with the rainbow-colored light of wisdom. A small mushroom forest was growing here. Wisdom Gu was sprawled atop the Mushroom King at the center of the forest, not moving. Fang Yuan sat close by, using the light of wisdom to make his deductions. Afterwards, he let out a breath of foggy air. The second Immortal Gu recipe has been completed. He looked at his green grape immortal essence. He did not have much originally, only 20 or so of them. After deducing 2 80% remnant recipes, he had 11 left. The third Immortal Gu remnant recipe is 86% complete. 11 green grape immortal essence beads should be enough. Fang Yuan looked at the Delight in Water and Mountain Immortal Gu. It was glistening brightly and had no issues. Many days had passed since He Lu Lan's tribulation. Because it was used intensely in battle, Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu was hungry already, while Delight in Water and Mountain Immortal Gu had been activated many times, but its condition was still good, it was not hungry. Fang Yuan felt baffled at first, but after he asked Mo Yao's will, who was in his immortal aperture, he understood why. It turned out Mo Yao's fake will needed to be replenished constantly. Mo Yao did not have a gu to produce fake will, she used many gu worms to convert the joyful will into fake will. Thus, when she fed gu worms, the one she paid most attention to was the delight in water and mountain immortal gu. Delight in water and mountain immortal gu was fed till it was completely full by Mo Yao's will, she did not feed it only when it was hungry. Thus, even though Fang Yuan was using it extensively, there was still some time until he needed to feed the delight in water and mountain immortal gu. This was evidently a good thing. After all, activating a hungry immortal gu forcefully could cause it to die. Cleansed soul immortal gu was already hungry, thus, it was much more risky for Fang Yuan to use the killer move Myriad Self. Perhaps the next time he used this immortal killer move, cleansed soul immortal gu would be destroyed in the process. Deducing immortal gu recipes was Fang Yuan's most important source of income now. If delight in water and mountain immortal gu could not be used, Fang Yuan would fall into a difficult situation again. Fang Yuan activated delight in water and mountain immortal gu again, he started deducing the third immortal gu remnant recipe. This time, he had obtained the demon venerable true meaning infusion, it was quite a bit of help to deducing immortal gu remnant recipes. New N0vel chapters are published on N0V/E/LB. co/m. That was because the true meaning infusion was the same as taking in reckless savage demon venerable's understanding towards cultivation, it directly increased Fang Yuan's foundation, it could raise his realm of cultivation. As for the deduction of gu recipes, it one's own foundation as the basis, the stronger their foundations, the higher the efficiency of the deduction. Even though refinement path attainment level was the most important, because there were many elements to consider, strength path and transformation path would be involved as well in these thought processes. 2 days later, Fang Yuan completed his deduction, he obtained 3 complete immortal gu recipes. He brought these immortal gu recipes over to Xianxia Blessed Land and completed the transaction with Xianxia Land Spirit. Not only did he clear his debt and account for the expenditure of his green grape immortal essence, he still earned 11 immortal essence stones as profit. Everything was back on track now. 8 days later, Fang Yuan handed another 3 completed immortal gu recipes to Xianxia Land Spirit and completed the 5th deal. At this point, he had 36 immortal essence stones and 27 green grape immortal essence beads. Fang Yuan slightly relaxed after that. Because of the battle with He Cheng, he almost went into the red and his finances threatened to collapse. According to the economic term on Earth, he had almost caused the situation of a cash flow shortfall. Although the immortal killer move, Myriad Self, has great strength, I need to consume a bead of green grape immortal essence every time I use it. If I use it many times, the expenditure would be huge. I need to be careful when I use it in the future, otherwise, it will just drain my finances and cause me to lose out, even if I win the fight. Fang Yuan inwardly alerted himself in his mind. When Gu immortals cultivate, they had to consider many aspects, not just victory in battle. Like the example of Lu Bang and Xianxia on Earth. Lu Bang could not defeat Xianxia, he lost in battles while Xianxia won in battles. But Lu Bang was adept in managing the economy and had strong backing. Even though he lost each fight, he had the capital to rise up once again, thus he was able to fight even after losing. Xianxia, however, although he won his fights, he had no businesses, as time passed, and they fought even more, the difference between Lu Bang and him became smaller. Eventually, Lu Bang won one battle and that turned into complete victory. As for the cultivation of Gu immortals, it was the same logic. Battles were just a part of cultivation. The victory and loss of battles was not too important, the important thing was the benefits behind them. One had to look forward for everything, they could not be short-sighted. Even though Fang Yuan could cause He Cheng and Shui Song Zi to suffer greatly, he had invested too much green grape immortal essence. In contrast, He Cheng and Shui Song-zi spent much less immortal essence compared to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan also went bankrupt after this fight, but He Cheng and Shui Song-zi were in good condition. If Fang Yuan had to fight them again now, Fang Yuan's battle strength would definitely be lower compared to them. If they fought for several more times, the winner would be obvious. He Cheng had the rank 6 Immortal Gu House Dark Prison, could he not go all out with it? Of course he could, but the situation did not call for it. Those who could become Gu Immortals were not rash boars that were hot-blooded, they would calculate their gains and losses after every battle. Of course, if not for the demon Venerable True Meaning infusion, Fang Yuan would not have expended this much green grape immortal essence. If I use up my green grape immortal essence, I can still replace it with immortal essence stones. But the demon Venerable True Meaning is an extremely rare opportunity. If I cultivate slow and steadily, I would need at least decades to reach this stage. Fang Yuan was very aware in his heart. After Fang Yuan completed another 2 Immortal Gu remnant recipes, Tai Bai Yunxing finally returned from Snowy Mountain. You did not see the environment of the super-grade blessed land, Sai, I saw it with my own eyes. Having over 6,700 square kilometers of land, the blessed land's time flow is 38 times that of the outside world. There is much vitality and great potential in it, I could not help but feel jealous towards it. In my opinion, the biggest winner after the battle of this tribulation is He Lu Lan. Tai Bai Yunxing returned and started talking incessantly, while sighing endlessly. After He Lu Lan's tribulation, she asked for Tai Bai Yunxing to repair the super-grade blessed land. Thus, Tai Bai Yunxing was lucky enough to enter Lu Lan blessed land. It could be said to be a truly eye-opening experience. A super-grade blessed land is precisely like that. After all, one of the 10 extreme physiques becoming an immortal is like skating on thin ice, it is a fight for survival in a deadly situation. Compared to this, I am more worried about how many immortal Gu He Lu Lan managed to refine during the 3rd step of this immortal ascension. Fang Yuan asked. Her immortal aperture was created using the Flying Bear Strength Immortal Gu. This Strength Path Immortal Gu was given to her by Giant Sun's will. Flying Bear Strength Gu is now her vital Gu, but she also elevated her original core Gu, Self-Strength Gu, to rank 6. Other than these two, she also obtained a rank 6 Strength Chi Gu. Tai Bai Yunxing replied. When Tai Bai Yunxing ascended to an immortal, the remaining heaven and earth Chi created his 2 immortal Gu, man as before and landscape as before. Whether He Lu Lan's remaining heaven and earth Chi had been more than Tai Bai Yunxing's, nobody knew. But what Fang Yuan did know was that she had quite a number of small family Chi Gu. These Gu had stored up some amount of heaven and earth Chi. Fang Yuan analyzed what He Lu Lan had. In this case, He Lu Lan is confirmed to have 4 immortal Gu. They are Flying Bear Strength Gu, Self-Strength Gu, Strength Chi Gu, and Slavery Immortal Gu. Divert Disaster Gu had been destroyed during the tribulation. But don't forget, she had once destroyed the Flying Bear Phantom and obtained Flying Bear Phantom Gu after suppressing it. After that, I lost my connection with the Flying Bear Phantom Immortal Gu. I am not sure if this Gu was taken away by the formless hands or if it is still with her now. He Lu Lan's strength grew extremely quickly, she had at least 4 immortal Gu and was a Gu immortal herself now, her future was immensely bright. Furthermore, she had a close relationship with Fairy Li Shan. After getting her help, she skipped the initial stage of being a newly advanced Gu immortal. Fairy Li Shan did not lack immortal essence stones. With a huge amount of investment, Lu Lan blessed land would develop quickly. He Lu Lan who has a super-grade blessed land will undoubtedly greatly exceed me in cultivation speed. I have a high-grade blessed land. Compared to other Gu immortals, it is also a great advantage, but He Lu Lan is like someone who has grown wings and is soaring. Even though we formed an alliance with her, the alliance will eventually end. After the time limit, we will need to be careful. Fairy Li Shan has a huge network while He Lu Lan is a formidable person. Tai Bai Yunxing's tone was worried. The rapid growth of the genius, He Lu Lan, had brought great mental pressure to an elderly man like Tai Bai Yunxing. But it was worse for Fong Yuan. His cultivation was stagnant. As long as he was still an immortal zombie, his cultivation level would not progress. As long as He Cheng is not dead, and Ma Hongyun's matter isn't resolved, we will have the basis to cooperate with He Lu Lan. You have to be very careful when you go to Eastern Sea this time. Shark Demon is not easy to deal with. If you need reinforcements, use the moving perspective cup Gu to contact me. Fong Yuan reminded Tai Bai Yunxing to be cautious. Tai Bai Yunxing rested in Hu Immortal Blessed Land for 2 days before setting off to Eastern Sea. He was afflicted by the death sentence awaits Immortal Gu, and had promised an immortal zombie of Eastern Sea, Shark Demon, to explore Yulu Blessed Land. He had no choice but to set off. Fong Yuan stayed in Hu Immortal Blessed Land. He deduced Gu recipes to earn immortal essence stones, while also placing priority on settling the important matter of feeding Immortal Gu. After he completed the 6th deal, he had more than 60 immortal essence stones. His woman's heart and connect luck were showing signs of weakness. They were evidently famished. Together with cleansed soul Immortal Gu, he had a total of 3 Immortal Gu to feed. Cleansed soul Immortal Gu needed 10,000 white lotus giant silkworm Gu as food. Connect luck Immortal Gu needed 5,000 kilograms of sand from the ancient desolate beast, worldly sand gulls, resting area. Poison path Immortal Gu woman's heart needed the hearts of women as food. He had no idea how to get the first 2. Fong Yuan decided to settle the easiest one first. Western Desert. Sand dunes were continually connected together, forming a huge and wide area of land. The sun was high in the sky, the air was dry and hot. It felt like a person could be cooked in this weather. A large-sized caravan was moving forward. The camel bells ringed, and the sounds of the vehicles could be heard constantly. The accompanying Gu masters used all types of Gu worms, some to reduce the temperature, some to summon winds, some to create fresh water, and some to navigate. "Who is this?" the caravan leader shouted. There was a gruesome monster in front of the caravan. This monster was 6 meters tall. It had bulging muscles and a large body. It had 8 arms, a green face and sharp fangs, with eyes red as blood. With one look, people felt their hearts tighten as they felt a formless pressure. The caravan went into a commotion. 2 rank 5, 17 rank 4, 40 over rank 3. This is quite a number. A hoarse voice could be heard from the monster's mouth. "Sir, who might you be?" "I am Mo clan's caravan leader, Mo Yen." One of the rank 5 Gu masters in the caravan cupped his fists and asked nervously. Fong Yuan laughed ruthlessly. His 8 monstrous claws opened instantly. The name of the super influence, Mo clan, could not deter him. He was like the incarnation of a demonic god. He rushed into the caravan and whipped up a storm of blood and flesh. Howling, screaming, crying, begging, all these noises tangled together. After a while, they went silent. Chapter 694, A Gentle Gaze. After around 10 minutes, the slaughter finally ended. One's nose would be assailed by the thick smell of blood. The yellow sand was filled with corpses. Fong Yuan stood at the center of the corpses. He summoned woman's heart Immortal Gu. The Immortal Gu slowly rose up, floating into the air and emitting a reddish-purple light. The light filled the entire battlefield. In a few breaths of time, all the female corpses in the entire battlefield started to tremble. The vibrations of the corpses became more intense, as finally, with a loud pop, hearts burst out of the bodies and rose up slightly, flying towards woman's heart which was in the air. Before they even got close, these bloody hearts were swallowed by the reddish-purple light in the air, turning into inky purple light lumps. The light lumps were like young swallows returning to their nest. They entered woman's heart. Poison path Immortal Gu. Woman's heart slightly trembled, it let out a sharp screech, as if it sounded overjoyed from being fed. A moment later, all of the women's hearts in the battlefield had been fed to woman's heart as food. Fang Yuan called back woman's heart. This Immortal Gu's hunger had been alleviated by quite a bit, but it was not full yet. Fang Yuan frowned slightly. At this rate, to feed the woman's heart Immortal Gu until it is full, I will need 4,000 more women's hearts. This caravan that I slaughtered already had significant strength. Such a large-sized caravan is uncommon in Western Desert. Fang Yuan thought about it for a while before flying into the sky. In the air, he stretched out his palm, pushing it towards the ground. Immediately, thousands of fireballs appeared, slamming into the battlefield. Explosions occurred as rocks and sand were sent flying, corpses were burnt as the place turned into a sea of fire. This was not a killer move, it was simply the power of quantity. He had used numerous similar fire path Mortal Gu. Fang Yuan threw several black oil dragons. The oil dragons flew into the sea of fire, raising its intensity and raising the battlefield to the ground. All the traces left behind were gone. After doing this, Fang Yuan flapped his light illusion bat wings and flew away at a rapid speed. He traveled northeast, past several large-sized oases, before finding his target, a small-sized oasis. Looking down from a high altitude, the oasis was like a jewel, encased in the golden desert. There was a lake in the oasis, its water was clear and blue, with trees growing around it. There were many people living in this place, the marketplace were lively and it was a scene of prosperity and peace. Fang Yuan did not conceal his movements, he appeared above the cloudless sky, it was very eye-catching. A group of Gu masters riding sand gulls flew up from the oasis. What monster is this? It seems like a zombie. These Gu masters were mostly young people. They looked at Fang Yuan's monstrous appearance and couldn't help but mutter apprehensively. They were almost all rank 2, only the leader was a rank 3 Gu master. This group of people flew towards Fang Yuan, they stopped about 300 steps away from him. The leader was very vigilant, he cupped his fists. This is Zhouxi Oasis, controlled by us, Lan clan. The sky above the oasis is a no-fly zone. I hope Sir can land on the ground. If you wish to enter the oasis, we have Gu masters in charge of attending to visiting Gu masters from outside. Sir just needs to follow the procedures, as long as you meet the requirements, you will be allowed to enter the oasis. Fang Yuan continued to stare at the oasis, using his investigative Gu to check the area. He was trying to find out if there were any Gu immortals hiding in this oasis, because only Gu immortals could pose a threat to him. According to normal circumstances, such a small oasis would not be a strong force, there should not be Gu immortals here. If there were, they would have expanded or modified this oasis already. After the leader said that, he saw that Fang Yuan was unmoved, he frowned as he said coldly, "Did Sir hear me? The sky above the oasis is a no-fly zone, this is general knowledge in Western Desert. Sir flying above Lan clan can be regarded as a provocation. I hope Sir lands now, otherwise, don't blame us for." Bam! Before the leader finished his words, Fang Yuan flicked a finger and sent a rank 5 level attack at him. The rank 3 leader could not react, he was blown to bits, his corpse scattered everywhere. Ha! Lord Elder! The other rank 2 Gu masters screamed shrilly after a moment of shock. At this moment, unparalleled fear filled their hearts. The high and mighty Lord Elder did not even have a chance to react before he was killed in one hit. This attack was too sudden, the rank 2 Gu masters could not even clearly see what actually killed their leader. Lord Elder is dead, he was killed in an instant. Quickly retreat, this person is not someone we can deal with. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. The rank 2 Gu masters screamed, they scattered in the air, flying towards the oasis. Fong Yuan snorted coldly, he waved his hands. Bam bam bam. With consecutive explosions, these rank 2 Gu masters were turned into pieces of flesh without exception. Even the sand gulls that they were sitting on were not spared. A loud siren rang in the oasis. Everything that had happened in the air was seen by the patrolling Gu masters. Fong Yuan looked down from above imposingly, seeing the mortals panicking and running away, the flourishing market had gone into chaos. Large numbers of mortal Gu masters came out from the buildings, they faced up towards the sky, looking at Fong Yuan with deep animosity. Mortals are truly like insects. Fong Yuan let out a deep breath, he then summoned the hair armor and flapped his light illusion bat wings, flying like a meteor towards the oasis. He's here. Attack him. Be careful, the other party is very strong, he is at least a rank 4 Gu master. He is very likely to be rank 5. So what if he is strong? He is just one person, attack him. The Lon clan Gu masters in the oasis screamed furiously, they unleashed a flurry of colorful attacks. But Fong Yuan's charge was not slowed, he easily broke through these obstructions and crashed into the clan head pavilion at the center of the oasis. Bam! The loud crash could deafen one's ears, the huge impact caused the ground to shake. The clan head pavilion had defensive Gu worms protecting it, but they were useless, the place collapsed in an instant. Rocks flew and tiles burst, air currents pushed out and carried the dust clouds with them. As the dust and smoke settled, Fong Yuan's huge body and 8 monstrous arms were displayed before the Lon clan Gu masters. He did not die. Damn it, the clan head pavilion was destroyed by him. The ancestors' tablets are all inside. Kill this demon. Everyone's emotions were stimulated, they surrounded Fong Yuan. All of you shut up. Suddenly, an elderly man shouted, walking out from the crowd. Lord Clan Elder. The surrounding people paid respects to this old man. The old clan leader was very shocked, he deeply understood the defensive power of the clan head pavilion. It was the central and most important place in the clan, it had great defenses, even if 10 people of the elderly clan leader's strength attacked it, they might not break through. But simply one blow from Fong Yuan destroyed the entire clan head pavilion. Just one hit. What did this mean? The elderly clan leader controlled his fear, he bowed deeply towards Fong Yuan. Our Lon clan has been neutral for many generations, we have not meddled with the outside world. I am not sure if we have offended, sir, but we will definitely compensate you until you are satisfied. The moment he said that, he immediately attracted the fierce rebuttal of the Gu masters. Lord Clan Leader, what are you saying? This monster who is neither a human nor a ghost destroyed our clan head pavilion, even Elder Lon Duan died in his hands. Clan Leader, our Lon clan has no cowards, the other party is already so overbearing, we have to slaughter him into pieces to quench the hatred in our hearts. He. Fong Yuan laughed coldly, his voice was hoarse, everyone frowned when they heard his voice, there is actually someone who understands how to react to the situation here, that's right, this small oasis is squeezed between many large forces. If you did not know your place, you would not be able to stay as the clan leader. Then listen to me, I want you to collect 6,000 hearts within the next 10 minutes. Remember, these hearts have to be intact and they need to be women's hearts, the hearts of men and young girls have no use. What? He actually wants 6,000 women's hearts. This is a demon, he is a lawless demon. He actually wants our clan to be his lapdog, to collect hearts for him. The Gu masters were in an uproar. The elderly clan leader's expression was also uncertain. 6,000 women's hearts was a huge number. There were many mortal villages around this oasis, but the number of mortals was certainly not enough. That means, to reach 6,000, he would need to sacrifice the clansmen in Lan clan. Thus, the old clan leader's position would certainly be taken away. Nobody would allow such a person to be their leader. Isn't Sir's request too overbearing? Sigh, heaven cares for all living beings. In broad daylight, how can anyone commit such heinous acts? I'm afraid Lan clan cannot help you. The old clan leader sighed as he showed a merciful expression. Then there's no other way. Even though this is more troublesome, it will do. Fang Yuan laughed ruthlessly, his killing intent surged. Light illusion bat wings flickered on his back, and a moment later, he appeared in front of the old clan leader. The zombie claws stretched out like lightning, grabbing the old clan leader's neck, lifting him up easily. So fast. The old clan leader's expression was pale, there was no trace of blood on his face. He was completely shocked. How could he be captured by the other party in an instant? Could it be that, he is not a mortal, but a Gu immortal? A horrifying thought appeared in the old clan leader's heart. He shouted anxiously, everything can be discussed, please have mercy, arg. Crack, the old clan leader's neck was smashed into powder by Fang Yuan. The old clan leader's head hung to one side, he stared with his eyes wide opened. He died without solace. It was not that he did not want to use his Gu worms to retaliate, but Fang Yuan had many mortal Gu in his immortal aperture that could seal and suppress Gu worms. Read latest. OV. OV. LS at N. V/E/L/by. .com. He killed the clan leader. No. Lord Clan Leader. You cannot die. Revenge for Lord Clan Leader. The Gu masters reacted and shouted angrily, like a rushing tide, they charged towards Fang Yuan, using all sorts of attacks, unleashing a beautiful display of fireworks. Fang Yuan did not dodge, he stood on the spot, allowing the attacks to hit his body without moving at all. Everyone's attacks lasted for 100 breaths before stopping. Gu masters had limited primeval essence, with such an intense wave of attacks, they could not keep it up for very long. Is he dead? He was definitely beaten to a pulp already. Sigh, our poor old clan leader, we did not even manage to retrieve his corpse. But when the smoke dispersed, the Gu master's eyes were opened wide, they saw that Fang Yuan was still standing at the same spot arrogantly. Even though the surroundings were a mess, his black armor was still extremely new-looking, even the broken spikes were regenerating rapidly. A few breaths of time later, Fang Yuan's hair armor regenerated completely, there were not even any marks on it. Hair armor was a mortal killer move, it was made of several hundred Gu worms, and dozens of rank 5 goo worms. It was also used on the foundation of the immortal zombie body. The defense was not something these goo masters could break. Among the people attacking Fong Yuan, the one and only rank 4 goo master, the elderly clan leader, had died. There were less than 10 rank 3 goo masters remaining, the rest were rank 2 and 1. Their attacks were very scattered, many of the attacks had cancelled each other out, it simply could pose no threat to Fong Yuan. This is your attack. It can't even scratch me. Fong Yuan chuckled, his laughter was not loud, but it was very clear in everyone's ears. An intense chill rose up in the hearts of the goo masters and spread rapidly. Even though the weather was so hot, they felt like they were in an icy pit. You, what are you? Everyone trembled, their hearts were filled with terror. Monster, this is a monster. Someone screamed, he had lost his mind. Run, quickly run. Their morale had sank to rock bottom, one person running away initiated the collapse of the entire group. Fong Yuan was not surprised, the clan leader was dead, they had nothing to rely on. At the same time, he purposely took the attacks head on, it was to destroy the morale of these mortals. Swoosh! Fong Yuan smiled sinisterly, he chased up to a female goo master. The female goo master's body froze, she stared at the monstrous claw piercing through her back and out of her chest, as the monstrous claw pulled out, her heart was taken away. Elder Lon Xian is dead too, run. The surrounding goo masters saw this and were shocked out of their minds, they ran away even more quickly. Fong Yuan waved a hand and large numbers of fireballs spewed out, buildings collapsed and fires were blazing. With another wave of a hand, wind blades were dancing in the air, slaughtering everything in their path, leaving behind large numbers of minced corpses. No, please, I'm begging you, don't kill me. This was an ordinary mortal woman with a delicate face and a beautiful figure, she had preserved her own body well, she should be a wife or concubine of a goo master. Bam! Fong Yuan flicked his finger, and the mortal woman's head exploded like a watermelon, her headless corpse collapsed on the ground. Fong Yuan walked past this corpse, as the palm of his downwards hanging hand opened, the woman's heart burst out of the body and flew out, grabbed by Fong Yuan. Woman's heart let out a joyful scream, it stopped on Fong Yuan's shoulder, glowing in a reddish-purple light. Be it the heart in Fong Yuan's hand or the surrounding corpses, as long as they met the conditions, the purple light would swallow them and they would be absorbed by woman's heart. Fong Yuan walked briskly, wherever he went, a slaughter occurred. It was a path filled with anguished wails, rivers of blood flowed. Cleansed soul Immortal Gu was famished, it was too risky to use myriad self, and too much of a waste of immortal essence. Icy drill stardust could not be used, because the starlight lump exploded continuously, it would mince the mortal corpses completely, even the hearts would not be spared. Fong Yuan was only using mortal goo, he did not use any killer moves, it was simply a huge quantity of goo worms. But even so, the efficiency of killing was not low. Western Desert was different from the other 4 regions, Fong Yuan chose this place purposefully. This was a huge desert, and the oases were like islands, even if a mortal escapes out of the oasis, they would not get far. Western Desert was a place with unhindered vision, the desert stretched to the horizon, it was easy for Fong Yuan to chase them down. This time, I will let you eat till you are full, little one. Fong Yuan walked in the pool of blood, looking at the woman's heart Immortal Gu on his shoulder, his gaze was extremely gentle. Chapter 695, Dead Sand Gull Egg. The light of the setting sun shone on Zhoshi Oasis. The lively atmosphere in normal times was replaced by thick smoke and fire today. There was nothing left of the former serenity, buildings had collapsed, turning into piles of ruins. In these ruins, on the streets, at the side of the lake, under the trees, pools of blood were connected and corpses lined the ground. Fong Yuan went back to the clan head pavilion, standing on a pile of broken concrete, he placed the poison path Immortal Gu woman's heart back into his immortal aperture. After killing for a long time, he had finally fed woman's heart until it was full. Woman's heart combined refinement and nurturing. If he fed it any further, woman's heart would enter the refinement stage. The more women's hearts it ate, the stronger the poison. But Fang Yuan had no intentions of refining the Gu at this point. With his strength, slaying mortals was like slaughtering animals, but with so many mortals, he still spent half the day on this. Furthermore, woman's heart was a consumable immortal Gu. No matter how strong it would be gone after one use. The prospects of investing in it were not great, unless Fang Yuan had the immortal Gu recipe of woman's heart. Standing on the rubble of the clan head pavilion, Fang Yuan activated several hundred Gu worms in his immortal aperture, undergoing a thorough search of the area. After 2 breaths of time, Fang Yuan finally found an underground entrance. He walked towards the entrance, his huge feet treaded and destroyed the ground under him, exposing the entrance. This entrance could allow a normal person to enter, but it was too small for Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan used force to take apart this entrance. After several hundred steps, the space finally widened enough for Fang Yuan to walk while bending his waist. A large stone door appeared in front of Fang Yuan. On top of the door, there were words carved: "Important area of the clan treasury, people not specifically assigned are forbidden from entering." Fang Yuan snorted. He destroyed the stone door and hundreds of golden light blades attacked Fang Yuan. A loud alarm rang. This was evidently the method of Lan clan in defending against thieves. But it was a pity that not even a single spike on Fang Yuan's hair armor was destroyed. Fang Yuan entered the stone door, seeing a pile of primeval stones. Fang Yuan roughly estimated that there were at least 100,000 in total. If Fang Yuan was still immortal, these primeval stones would be a huge fortune. But now that he was an immortal with unlimited primeval essence, he had almost no need for primeval stones. But he still kept these primeval stones in his immortal aperture. It was simply a move done in passing. Soon, he broke through a second stone door, and entered. He saw a huge amount of Gu refinement materials. They were classified and placed here. These were all ordinary materials. Although Fang Yuan also needed them, these materials were not in high quantity. When Fang Yuan truly wanted to refine something, he would need a vast amount of materials. He would still need to purchase in bulk from Gu immortals. But this was better than nothing. Fang Yuan would not leave empty-handed. He sent it all into his immortal aperture. Next, beyond the 3rd, 4th, and 5th stone door, they all had Gu refinement materials, except that they were of different varieties and had different storage conditions. Fang Yuan took all of these as well. At the 6th stone door, he found Gu worms. Large numbers of mortal Gu were stored here. This was Lan clan's Gu worm treasury, the foundation of their entire clan. Fang Yuan took them all away. With his abundant memories and great experience, he knew all of these Gu worms. They were not necessary for him. But to mortal Gu masters, these were all precious Gu worms, including rank 4 and 5 Gu worms among them. Getting one could change a person's life. Their entire future might turn around. Like the liquor worm that Fang Yuan obtained on Qing Mao Mountain, the bone-flesh unity Gu on Bai Gu Mountain, and the all-out effort Gu in Shang Clan City. There were 3 Gu worm treasuries, and 5 primeval stone treasuries. Other than that, there were treasuries hidden within treasuries, secret troves that did not escape Fang Yuan's detection. Some troves were ravaged. There were Gu master corpses here and traces of fighting. Evidently, when Fang Yuan was slaughtering the mortals, some greedy Gu masters knew that the clan was finished and barged in here, trying to take whatever resources they could. They fought here and took the treasures they could find, while a portion of people died from the Gu worms defending the troves. Fang Yuan walked past these troves along the main path deep underground. Along the way, he saw more and more corpses of Gu master, and there were also sand gull corpses. These sand gulls were like a combination of seagulls and ostriches. They had large legs with huge muscles, but they also had huge wings and could fly in the sky. Sand gulls could run rapidly in the desert, while also flying in the sky and carrying people. They only ate grass and drank clean water. They were easy to feed. With a mild temperament, they were the most common steed among Western Desert Gu masters. The only problem was, sand gulls had very low fertility. 3 to 4 out of 10 sand gull eggs would usually hatch and grow into healthy sand gulls. However, this Lan clan raised many sand gulls, much more than other forces of the same level. When Fong Yuan slaughtered the clan, he killed many sand gulls. He estimated that Lan clan might have some secret technique to raise the fertility of the sand gulls. If so, that would be the only thing in this entire Lan clan that could somewhat interest Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan walked for another few thousand steps. He saw more Gu master corpses. Finally, at one point, he saw a large number of Gu master corpses and sand gull corpses. It seems that the people who came in here met with the sand gull's obstruction. They all perished here. They took a risk to enter here. Quite evidently, there is a huge benefit attracting them. Fong Yuan analyzed. Squawk, squawk, squawk. After another few hundred steps, Fong Yuan was attacked by a wave of sand gulls. There were 100 sand gulls. Among them, the sand gull 100 beast king was injured, likely due to the fight with Gu masters earlier. But how could this trifling beast group be Fong Yuan's match? In just a few breaths of time, Fong Yuan killed these sand gulls and continued moving forward. The path was moving downwards. The depth was rather surprising to Fong Yuan. After getting rid of 10 waves of attacks from sand gulls, Fong Yuan walked out of the tunnel. His field of vision widened as he entered a huge underground cave. This cave was quite big. It was like a square. There was a huge stone table at the center of the cave. There was a huge egg on the table. It was the size of a house. It had a yellow luster, but it was already quite dim. There was a thick layer of yellow sand around the table. The sand was extremely soft and slightly warm. It felt like cotton when one stepped on it. Many eggs were placed on this sand, slightly buried into them. These eggs were of varying sizes. There were even some broken egg shells there. These eggs are all sand gull eggs. This is the breeding ground for Lan clan sand gulls. Fong Yuan walked into the cave. To protect their home and eggs, a large number of sand gulls rose up and charged towards Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan was unmoved. He waved a hand and a large number of wind blades cut these sand gulls like harvesting crops. With another burst of frost, half of these sand gull were frozen. There were very few sand gulls that survived. They no longer had their previous numbers, so their aura diminished and they started escaping in fear. Fong Yuan had no interest in killing them all. The closer he got to the table, the more his gaze was attracted to the huge egg on the table. He showed some joy on his face. This egg, is it the egg of a worldly sand gull? Fong Yuan stopped atop the stone table and came in front of the huge egg. He touched the shell filled with cracks. There were several small holes on it, as transparent egg white flowed out of the cracks slowly. The egg white fell onto the stone table, following the crevices on the table as it flowed down onto the yellow sand. This was an egg of the ancient desolate beast worldly sand gull. The life inside had perished in the egg. Even the egg white was leaking. This was obviously a dead egg. Sand gulls had low fertility. Worldly sand gulls which were of the same breed had even lower rates. But it was the life essence of an ancient desolate beast after all. Even using the egg white so superficially could greatly raise the fertility of these sand gulls. Fong Yuan did not obtain the fertility method he had been guessing. He actually obtained a dead egg of an ancient desolate bird instead. This was an unpleasant surprise. As expected, after using Connect Luck, I encountered something good. After slaughtering a small to mid-sized clan, I actually obtained something useful to me. Fong Yuan sighed in his heart. His Connect Luck Immortal Gu needed the sand of the resting area of the ancient desolate beast, worldly sand gull, as food. This sand was known as sand gull soil. It was a special resource formed from ordinary soil due to the worldly sand gull's influence. Originally, if Feng Yuan wanted to obtain the sand, he would need to buy it from others, or find a worldly sand gull nest and take a huge risk to sneak in and steal the sand gull soil. But now that he had a dead egg of the worldly sand gull, he could use the life essence in this egg to turn ordinary sand into sand gull soil. I need 5,000 kilograms of sand gull soil to feed the Connect Luck Immortal Gu. There is ample life essence in this egg, it should be enough. Even if it is not enough, it will tide me through this tough time. I do not need to feed the Connect Luck Immortal Gu until it is full, as long as it is not starving, that will do. After all, for the foreseeable future, there are no suitable targets. Connect Luck Immortal Gu is unusable anyway. Read latest. OV. LS at N. V/E/L/by. .com. Feeling joyous, Feng Yuan took this dead egg. After returning to Hu Immortal Blessed Land, he started his preparations. He was a Blood Path Grandmaster in his previous life, now he had also become a Strength Path Grandmaster. These two paths both involved life and vitality. He quickly had an idea, using 600 mortal Gu to create a Gu formation, extracting the life essence of this dead egg, forming a lot of vital energy. Feng Yuan modified this method with the help of Wisdom Gu, condensing the vital energy into a light yellow juice. Ordinary sand had turned into sand gull soil after a day and a night in this juice. 3 days later, Feng Yuan obtained enough sand gull soil to feed Connect Luck Immortal Gu till it was full. Therefore, the cleansed soul Immortal Gu in his hands was the only one he had an issue in feeding. To feed cleansed soul Immortal Gu, he needed the flesh of 10,000 white lotus giant silkworm Gu, but the white lotus giant silkworm Gu was very rare. 100,000 years ago, during the late antiquity era, soul path flourished, and this Gu worm had once been very popular. Unfortunately, at this point, there were already very few white lotus giant silkworm Gu in treasure yellow heaven. Feng Yuan used the name of the 8-arm immortal to request for this Gu worm and its recipe, but no one had answered him. Chapter 696, Announcement of Betrayal. Husband, Huang Er has been like this for 3 months. What should we do? I don't know how to live if anything happens to her. Fairy Bai Qing looked at Feng Jin Huang who was on the cushion, sobbing in a low voice. She was a grand Gu immortal of Spirit Affinity House, she had always been elegant and noble to the outside world. But now that this concerned her beloved daughter, she lost her bearings, she was no longer as calm as usual. But in front of her, Feng Jin Huang sat on the cushion, in the posture of polishing her aperture. She wore a phoenix coronet, she had slanted eyes and there was a small red birthmark between her eyebrows. Her appearance combined the gentle beauty of her mother, Fairy Bai Qing, with the valiance of her father, Feng Jiugu. She had a dignified disposition, yet also a matchless, fearless beauty. She had incredible aptitude, her talent was overwhelming, she suppressed everyone of the same age in the 10 great ancient sections. If not for Feng Yuan ruining her opportunity, Feng Jin Huang would have become the owner of Hu Immortal Blessed Land already. Her skin was fair like snow, her eyes were shut, she breathed slowly like she was asleep. About 3 months ago, Feng Jin Huang was meditating as usual, nurturing her aperture. But an accident occurred during this ordinary cultivation session, she fell unconscious ever since and nobody could awaken her using any method. Ever since they found out about Feng Jin Huang's strange state, Feng Jiugu and Bai Qing had been thinking of ways to save their daughter, but there had been no progress. They asked the Supreme Elders of Spirit Affinity House, they had tried all sorts of methods, but all of it was useless. Husband, do you think our Huang Er will stay asleep forever? Will she ever wake up and see us again? Fairy Bai Qing thought about this terrible fate and couldn't refrain from welling up with sorrow. Feng Jiugu sighed. He stretched out his arms to hug his beloved wife, consoling her. Qing heir, don't worry. Didn't First Supreme Elder say it? Our daughter had discovered the true way to use Dreamwing's Immortal Gu, thus she had reached a hidden region, her entire soul had entered a mystical realm unknown to us. She did not lose her life and is still alive and well. We should believe her, maybe this is a fortuitous encounter for her. Although Feng Jiugu and Bai Qing did not awaken Feng Jin Huang, their attempts were not in vain. They had already found out the reason for Feng Jin Huang's coma was the Dreamwing's Immortal Gu. Fairy Bai Qing leaned on her husband as she relaxed on his broad and powerful chest. She felt slightly eased as she said, when Huang heir was 3 years old, Dreamwing's Immortal Gu came to her on its own. I had been feeling uneasy since then. We have never seen this Immortal Gu before, even after searching through all of Spirit Affinity House's records, there was no information about it. In our tests, the effect of this Gu expended the soul to create beautiful wings. But now it seems, Dreamwing's Immortal Gu's true effect is not this. Feng Jiugu nodded, agreeing, your analysis is very reasonable. When Gu masters nurture, use, and refine Gu, if they are facing an unknown Gu worm, they would make new discoveries when using the Gu, eventually understanding everything about the Gu worm. Even for famous Gu worms, there are always new secrets hidden within them. When Gu immortals and Gu masters obtain valuable experience, they would treat it as an important secret to prevent others from learning about their information. When Huang heir awakens, I am sure she will have huge gains. She will learn the true way to use Dreamwing's Immortal Gu. When I go to Northern Plains this time, our family will have to depend on you. Inform me immediately when Huang heir awakens. The 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent had plotted for countless years. They put in a lot of time and effort, expending manpower and resources, meticulously planning and making arrangements, before finally having some progress in 88 True Yang building. But in the end, Fang Yuan used his previous life's memories and plucked the fruits of their labor, using these arrangements for himself. Explore new. Ovals on N. Velbai.com. In the end, Imperial Court Blessed Land was destroyed, and 88 True Yang building collapsed. This piece of information was a huge nightmare to the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, who had planned this for a long time. The leader of this plan, Spirit Affinity House, was pressured by all the different forces, not only from the other 9 sects, but also internally within Spirit Affinity House. The plot against 88 True Yang building started from the information left behind by Fairy Mo Yao. All these years, our sect has been leading the way and holding the most crucial methods. Now that such a huge change has occurred, not only must we clear the suspicions, we also have to investigate the truth. As the person with the strongest battle strength in our sect, even though I want to stay by my daughter, all of the other elders have agreed that I will go to investigate this. Feng Jiugu sighed. Husband, you have to be careful during this Northern Plains journey. If anything goes wrong, make escaping your priority. After all, over there would not be like in Central Continent, there is no backup to assist you. Don't trust the people from the other 9 sects. Back then when you challenged the 10 great sects in successive battles, you won many and faced 0 losses, many people's reputations took a huge hit. All these years, you have been the publicly recognized strongest person in the 10 sects, suppressing all of them. If Spirit Affinity House loses you, they might all sigh in relief instead. Don't worry, for you and our daughter, I will be careful. Feng Jiugu touched Fairy Bai Qing's cheeks as he kissed her lips gently. When their lips separated, he took out a rank 5-letter sending green bird Gu. This is a letter from who Immortal Blessed Land. That rascal Feng Yuan accepted Huang heir's challenge. Feng Jiugu said. Him. Ever since Huang heir was born, she had only suffered a loss in this Feng Yuan's hands. After Huang heir returned, she was so indignant and wanted to take revenge. I got you to send him a challenge letter earlier, but he did not reply. To think that he has replied now, what is his motive? Fairy Bai Qing had a deep impression of Feng Yuan. Feng Jiuji's gaze concentrated. Ever since Huang Er lost, we had investigated this lad thoroughly. He has quite the backing, there is a mysterious force behind him, he actually dared to snatch Hu Immortal blessed land under the eyes of all 10 great ancient sections. But these smart Alecs in Immortal Crane's sect acknowledged him as one of their own, leaving us no way to make a move. This way, Immortal Crane's sect can exclude the rest of us 9 sects and claim Hu Immortal blessed land for themselves. If it had been me, I would have done the same. Fairy Bai Qing said. Over a year has passed according to Central Continent time, even Northern Plains' True Yang building has collapsed in this period. The laughable thing is that Immortal Crane's sect has not even succeeded yet, Hu Immortal blessed land is still in that rascal's hands. What a joke. Feng Jiugu laughed in disdain. We can't say that. During this year, Immortal Crane's sect had first spent a lot of effort to capture the ancient desolate beast, Spirit Rhino, then many of the Gu immortals in their sect were involved in the reincarnation battlefield, and now even Great Heavenly Sword sect which is under their control is trying to gain independence. Immortal Crane's sect has too many things to deal with. Together with our 9 sects exerting pressure on them covertly after we learned the truth, obstructing them from attacking Hu Immortal blessed land by force, all of these reasons resulted in Hu Immortal blessed land being yet to fall at this point. Fairy Bai Qing said. Feng Jiugu shook his head. The force behind Feng Yuan is shrouded in mystery, we do not know much about them yet. Yesterday, Immortal Crane's sect publicly declared that Feng Yuan had turned on them after obtaining Hu Immortal blessed land, he is now a traitor of the sect. It is evident that their soft tactics had no effect. Now it seems like Immortal Crane's sect is going to deal with Hu Immortal blessed land forcefully during this period of time. Humph, I want to see what force it is, to be able to contest with our 10 great sections. Fairy Bai Qing's gaze flickered, she seemed to have comprehended something. I understand this Feng Yuan's intention. He is not a member of Immortal Crane's sect, it seems he knew that Immortal Crane's sect was going to deal with him. Thus, he sent this letter, to interact with the outside world, so that he can resist Immortal Crane's sect using Spirit Affinity House. But now, Immortal Crane's sect has an upright reason to strike, because Feng Yuan is a traitor of Immortal Crane's sect. Immortal Crane's sect can attack Hu Immortal blessed land righteously, while we cannot interfere. Fairy Bai Qing was unresigned, is there no way for us to interfere? If Immortal Crane's sect gets Dang Hun Mountain, I'm afraid their sect's foundation will get much stronger. As righteous sects, we have rules to follow. After all, there are so many other sects in Central Continent observing us, if the 10 great sects break established practices, will we still be able to command those on our sides? Even though Immortal Crane's sect initially deceived the other 9 sects, they were indeed led into believing them for some time, because Immortal Crane's sect had Fang Zheng who could be used as a perfect excuse. Since Immortal Crane's sect's plan worked out, we had to acknowledge them. At least, we cannot interfere this time. But if Immortal Crane's sect fails in taking down Hu Immortal blessed land, our 9 sects will have reason to strike. After all, everyone knows about this situation right now, but because of rules and reputation, we are all pretending to be ignorant. If Immortal Crane's sect fails, no one will allow them to take Hu Immortal blessed land for themselves anymore. Feng Jiugu continued. He paused before continuing. Before going to Northern Plains, I plan to give my one's own way Gu to Immortal Crane's sect for their use. Ah. What is your intention? Fairy Bai Qing was slightly taken aback. Feng Jiugu was very confident, we do not know about the strength of Feng Yuan's force, whether he can protect Hu Immortal blessed land is an unknown factor. If he defeats Immortal Crane's sect, then the 10 great sects will strike together to split up this blessed land. But if Immortal Crane's sect wins, we can use my one's own way Gu as a reason to gain some advantage from Dang Hun Mountain as well. Hu Immortal blessed land, Dang Hun Palace. Declaring me as the sect's traitor, this means Immortal Crane's sect will attack Hu Immortal blessed land very soon. Fang Yuan looked at the report in his hands with a heavy feeling. Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu was not fed yet. Under such circumstances, using the Immortal Killer move Miri itself was extremely risky. If he was unlucky, he might lose the Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu for good. This way, without Miri itself, Fang Yuan would lose his greatest trump card. Immortal Crane Sect announced that I was a traitor in advance, but they did not attack. They are evidently waiting now, trying to lure the force behind me to make a move, so that they can fight it out. This is truly the demeanor and confidence of one of the 10 great sections. Fang Yuan thought a little about it and knew that Immortal Crane Sect's attack would be very powerful this time. To him, the most important thing now was to find the White Lotus Giant Silkworm Gu, to feed Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu until it was full. At the same time, he needed to accumulate funds, and prepare enough green grape immortal essence. Most Immortal Gu required Immortal Essence to activate. Without Immortal Essence, no matter how many Immortal Gu he had, he could not use their abilities. What is the point of war? Money. In this world, why do Gu Immortals fight? For Immortal Essence Stones. It was about Immortal Essence Stones. Sigh, this is quite the problem. My funds that have just recovered are going to take a huge hit again. 2 consecutive battles would completely devastate my already weak finances. Chapter 697, Immortal Crane Sect, Gu Immortal Meeting. Central Continent, Feihe Mountain. At the highest point of the mountain, in the Hall of Affairs. Gu Immortals were seated in a circle, their immortal auras radiated as they discussed the important matters within Immortal Crane Sect. The Spirit Rhino's illness is getting worse. I need to purchase large amounts of materials, to refine the healing Gu that can treat it. But to completely heal the Spirit Rhino, I need a lot of healing Gu recipes and to carry out research on them. I estimate that I will need 360 Immortal Essence Stones. Gu Immortal Shuji Gu spoke loudly. Immediately afterwards, a Gu Immortal rebuked him. The Spirit Rhino is an ancient desolate beast, it has a very strong body. But now, it has already been sick for half a year, why has it not recovered yet? Shuji Gu, are you trying to delay the treatment of the Spirit Rhino so that you can reap some gains from the process? A Gu Immortal questioned. Shuji Gu heard this and his eyebrows rose up, he screamed, Fan Shilu, don't bullshit me. Wasn't this all because you guys used a poison path Immortal Gu when you captured it? Back then, I urged you, don't use it, but in the end, to save your efforts, you poisoned the Spirit Rhino. Now that there is trouble, you need me to clean up after you. You are the one bullshitting. Do you know how hard it was to capture that Spirit Rhino alive? It is easy for you to speak like this. Fan Shilu was just as fierce, shouting loudly. Ding! At this time, a bell rang, it was a crisp and clear sound. The Gu Immortal's words were all swallowed by the sound of the bell, as this sound continued echoing, it became louder. Shuji Gu and Fan Shilu, no matter how much they spoke, their voices would only turn into bell sounds. They decided to keep quiet as everyone's gazes turned to the origin of the sound. At the centermost seat, there was an old man, it was the person with the highest authority in Immortal Crane Sect, the rank 8 First Supreme Elder that controlled the entire situation. Immortal Crane Sect's First Supreme Elder's voice was low and slow. Now, Shuji Ge's suggestion requires 360 Immortal Essence Stones, to purchase Gu recipes and Gu worms to heal the Spirit Rhino, we will vote now. I object. 360 Immortal Essence Stones is too many. My budget last time was merely 200 Immortal Essence Stones. Is healing a Spirit Rhino more important than healing Gu Immortals? Fan Shilu was the first to object. A Gu Immortal beside him said, the Spirit Rhino is important, but it is not crucial. The most crucial matter now is the situation in the Northwest, I object to this suggestion as well. We will talk about Great Heavenly Sword Sect in detail later, now we are only discussing the matter of healing the Spirit Rhino. First Supreme Elder interjected. I object. The third Gu Immortal said. Before expressing my decision, I would like to hear Lady Xianxia's input. Our sect had expended much effort to capture the ancient desolate beast Spirit Rhino. It was to use the Spirit Rhino's blood to create an even more secretive information path Gu Worm. I wonder what Lady Xianxia's progress is. The fourth Gu Immortal looked at Lady Xianxia. Lady Xianxia was a rank 6 Gu Immortal. She smiled upon hearing this. I am ashamed. Right now, we are making little progress. The Spirit Rhino's body is full of poisonous blood. The research of the information path Gu Worm thus is progressing slowly. The fourth Gu Immortal nodded. That means this matter has few prospects. Then, I object. Out of the 8 Gu Immortals present, 5 objected. In the end, Shuji Gu only got 200 Immortal Essence Stones. This was evidently much less than the 360 he requested for. Shuji Gu snorted as he muttered something under his breath, expressing his unhappiness. Ding! With another sound of a bell, regardless of whether Shuji Gu was satisfied, First Supreme Elder continued, then next, we will discuss the matter of the reincarnation battlefield. Lei Tan stood up from his seat. He had a muscular body, his blue hair pointed towards the sky. I have been in charge of the reincarnation battlefield's matters for over 30 years. I am sure everyone knows how important the reincarnation battlefield is. During the middle of this year, our sect had suffered a huge loss in the reincarnation battlefield. Even though reinforcements were swiftly provided and we regained our footing, the situation is still terrible. I need a rank 6 Gu Immortal's battle strength or 3 desolate beasts to reinforce us, and one of the desolate beast has to be a 9 palace crane. He Feng Yang immediately retorted, a Gu Immortal's battle strength? Do you know Immortal Crane Sect's current situation? Mu Xiao is recuperating from a serious injury, Lin San Mei is in closed cultivation, we have a lack of manpower in terms of battle strength. You are making such a request at this time. Lei Tan snorted, if Immortal Crane Sect is chased out of the reincarnation battlefield, can you, He Feng Yang, take responsibility? He Feng Yang snickered, we have already invested a huge amount of resources into the reincarnation battlefield, 2 Gu Immortals were already involved in it, we can totally defend our side and maintain stability. Adding in forces will not solve anything, because our competitors in the reincarnation battlefield are the other 9 sections. The more reinforcements we send in, the more reinforcements other sects would send, they might even send more than us. Shu Jigu nodded, agreed, reincarnation battlefield situation is stable now, the current objective should be to defend our territory. Ch. Ek out L. T. St. V. L. On NOV. L/bin. C. M. Everyone looked around and started to vote. Eventually, Lei Tan obtained the help of 2 desolate beasts. He looked at He Feng Yang in hatred, gritting his teeth. Ding. Next, we will discuss the matter of Great Heavenly Sword Sect. First Supreme Elder said. Gue Li heard this and firmed his gaze, sitting up straight. Facing everyone's gazes, he spoke, Great Heavenly Sword Sect has been under our Immortal Crane Sect for nearly 1,000 years. Protected by us, after such a long time, they now have a 3rd Gu Immortal. They want to get rid of this attachment and separate from our sect. If they succeed, our sect's control over the Northwest would decrease significantly. Immortal Crane Sect's reputation will also take a huge hit. Even though there is not much evidence, I have gone through extensive calculations, I suspect that Myriad Dragon Dock is involved in this matter. If Great Heavenly Sword Sect detaches from us and joins Myriad Dragon Dock, the situation would be even worse. Our territory is connected to Myriad Dragon Dock's territory, the areas surrounding Great Heavenly Sword sect would combine into myriad dragon dark sphere of influence if that happens. We all know how severe the matter is, you do not need to explain it. I'll ask you directly, who is the Gu Immortal that you want to recruit from Great Heavenly Sword sect? How confident are you, is it the other party's scheme? And most importantly, how much of a price do we need to pay to recruit that Gu Immortal? Second Supreme Elder asked. Great Heavenly Sword sect was a large-sized force, it was unable to sustain the cultivation needs of 3 Gu Immortals. Central Continent's current situation was that the 10 great ancient sects had control over the entirety of Central Continent, and 80% of its resources were split by the 10 sections. Only the 10 great ancient sects could sustain a large number of Gu Immortals. For example, Great Heavenly Sword sect, which was a subsidiary of Immortal Crane sect, had to hand over a huge amount of resources every month. The Gu Immortals in Great Heavenly Sword sect thus lack the resources they need. In this aspect, if there were enough benefits, it was possible to make a Gu Immortal betray them. If Great Heavenly Sword sect loses one of its 3 immortals, it will only have 2 left and its strength would fall, they could no longer stir up trouble. Gueli thought about his words as he said, as the saying goes, nothing good is cheap, the one we are trying to recruit is not a mortal but a Gu Immortal. I promised them that they would be treated the same as us, after all, this is the standard for joining Immortal Crane sect. Other than that, there are some resources as well, about 75 Immortal Essence stones worth. Pausing for a while, Gueli continued, in my humble opinion, we should not resort to force for Great Heavenly Sword sect's matter, if we can. After all, the deadline of Great Heavenly Sword sect's agreement to be our subsidiary sect is coming to an end. It is perfectly fair for them to want to end this relationship and detach from us. If we interfere forcefully, we would have no proper reason. Great Heavenly Sword sect is also near a territorial border, myriad dragon dock may find an excuse to intervene. From start to finish, Gueli did not mention which Gu Immortal he was thinking of recruiting. Second Supreme Elder also did not pursue the matter. All of the Gu Immortals present were Supreme Elders of Immortal Crane sect, but they had internal factions and conflicts as well. A place with people will have conflicts over benefits, and when there is conflict of interest, there are allegiances. If Gueli said it now, it might give rise to unnecessary conflict. Great Heavenly Sword sect's matter was extremely important to Immortal Crane sect. After voting, Gueli's suggestion was approved. Ding! With a loud sound from the bell, First Supreme Elder said, next, we will discuss the matter of taking back Hu Immortal Blessed Land. He Feng Yang, tell us about it. Lei Tan snorted coldly, throwing a glance at He Feng Yang filled with ill intentions. He Feng Yang stood up from his seat, showing a serious attitude, everyone, Hu Immortal Blessed Land is a rank 6 blessed land, even though Hu Immortal did not manage it well, Dang Hun Mountain is in there. As we all know, Dang Hun Mountain's Guts Gu can greatly raise a sect's foundation, it is useful even to us Gu Immortals. Before he finished speaking, Gu Immortal Lei Tan questioned, He Feng Yang. It has already been more than a year, why is Hu Immortal Blessed Land not taken down yet? In fact, there is not even any progress. Do you know the other 9 sects are looking at us like a joke now? He Feng Yang was prepared for this, he spoke calmly, any person prepared to accomplish grand feats would face much mockery from the people around him, if we cannot endure this, how can we have any achievements? I came here for a meeting, not to listen to your teachings. No matter what, it is undeniable that you have not retrieved Hu Immortal Blessed Land yet. Lei Tan said. During this last year, I have been extremely busy over this matter, I had not relaxed even a bit. A few days ago, I have already declared publicly that Fang Yuan is a traitor of the sect, and that we will take him down soon. During these recent days, I have sent informants to monitor the other 9 great sects, we have not found any special reactions from any sect. The crucial person of this operation has been appropriately prepared, we just need Old Lord Kenyang and Fairy Yu to assist in our move, and we will be able to take back Hu Immortal Blessed Land. He Feng Yang said. Old Lord Kenyang is rank 7, while Fairy Yu has decent strength among rank 6 Gu Immortals. You have the nerve to request this? You are a grand Gu Immortal yourself, but you need 3 Gu Immortals to deal with Immortal. You are killing a chicken with an ox cleaver, this is what you have prepared after over a year. Lei Tan mocked and laughed loudly. He Feng Yang's eyes were twitching, he controlled the anger inside him as he looked around, calmly saying, to ensure that nothing goes wrong, I have to make such a request. I'm sure everyone here knows the situation. I used Fang Zheng to lie to the 9 sects, snatching Hu Immortal Blessed Land for ourselves in name. But ever since the 9 sects found out the truth, they have been targeting Dang Hun Mountain, obstructing us many times in secret. This time, we need to succeed, we cannot fail, otherwise they will intervene. By then, the situation is not something our sect can control anymore. Hearing this, First Supreme Elder sighed lightly, they have already obstructed us. He Feng Yang, I have bad news for you, as well as good news. He Feng Yang's heart shuddered, First Elder, please tell me. Never mind, look at it yourself. First Elder flicked his finger, as a rank 5 letter sending green bird Gu flew out. He Feng Yang received it and his consciousness entered it, seeing the start, his expression turned ashen. What? They are requesting Old Lord Kenyang to go to Northern Plains. In He Feng Yang's plan, Old Lord Kenyang was the greatest battle strength, he had an attacking type Immortal Gu, he was the powerhouse that could hold the fort. But before He Feng Yang had even acted, he lost his strongest general. Second Supreme Elder said, we can't reject them. Truyang Building collapsed for no apparent reason, the cooperation of our 10 sects to take down Truyang Building has failed. All the years of hard work have gone down the drain, all of our investments were wasted. This matter is too important, we have to organize a group to go investigate the truth in Northern Plains. At the same time, in Northern Plains, all sorts of Immortal Gu have appeared all over the place, thus this Northern Plains journey has another major objective, that is to capture some Immortal Gu. If the Gu Immortal we send has low battle strength, not only would we fail to gain anything, we might even be sidelined and reduced into being a shield, losing out in all aspects. Chapter 698, Attacking Hu Immortal Blessed Land, 1/3. But the decision of staying or going for Lord Kenyang would affect the ownership of Dang Hun Mountain and Guts Gu. He Feng Yang still wanted to fight for it. Feng Gu is the publicly recognized number 1 battle strength of the 10 sects, he is also the leader of this Northern Plains expedition. We have no justifiable reason to reject his request. You know clearly that the sect's manpower in terms of battle strength is very tight recently. Even if we refuse him forcefully, the other 9 sects will use excuses like not needing a burden to go with them, jointly pressuring us. Hearing the First Supreme Elder say that, He Feng Yang's expression became utterly dark. Lei Tan smiled silently, he did not conceal his schadenfreude at all. He Feng Yang felt he was so angry that he was going to blow up, he continued reading the letter, but his expression suddenly froze, he said with mixed emotions, this Feng Gu is actually lending one's own way Immortal Gu to me. He has also raised one's own way Immortal Gu to rank 7. Rank 6 one's own way Immortal Gu is a consumable Gu that can only be used thrice. But the rank 7 one's own way Gu has no such limits, it can be used as many times as possible, but the expended immortal essence is much higher. What? I remember that He Feng Yang's one's own way Gu only had 1 use left. To think that Feng Gu raised one's own way Gu to rank 7. No wonder he requested for one's own way Immortal Gu, he had an agenda all along. But his luck is really good, Immortal Gu are hard to refine, there is a very low chance of success, one's own way Gu was not his vital Gu, but he actually succeeded. Guili said. Xianxia Gu said, Spirit Affinity House has a lot of assets, and has close relations with Heavenly Court. Their foundation is even deeper than Immortal Crane sect. It is not a strange thing that they could refine a rank 7 Immortal Gu. With one's own way Gu, we will not be suppressed by the blessed land, we can use mortal Gu freely. Lady Xianxia looked at He Feng Yang. Feng Jiuji's scheme is great. On one hand he lent us one's own way Gu, if we succeed in obtaining Hu Immortal blessed land, he would be able to get a share. On the other hand, he took old Lord Kenyang away, that was to lower our capability in the fight for Hu Immortal blessed land. Second Supreme Elder analyzed. Third Supreme Elder Lord Tiger Demon drank the wine in his bowl before smashing it. Damn. This is not the first time that the other 9 great ancient sects have secretly obstructed our sect in dealing with Hu Immortal blessed land. He Feng Yang. Hu Immortal blessed land has been handled by you alone all along. I hope you can succeed this time. Do not leave any opportunities for the other sections. Slap their faces hard. I want them to beg us to cooperate on selling the guts Gu. I understand, Third Elder. He Feng Yang bowed. The Gu Immortals discussed for a day and a night. They finally decided on what Immortal Crane sect would do for the next few months. 2 days later, Fang Zheng opened the stone door, entering the blood pool. Fang Zheng, after so many hardships in training, we have finally reached this stage. Today, you will take revenge for your clansmen, you will make contributions to the sect, you will do a favor to all the people in this world. We must succeed. In his aperture, the spirit incubating flea was vibrating, emitting Lord Sky Crane's voice. 7 Sit N. Velb. /n. C/. M for L. Test. Vels. Yes, master. I will succeed. Fang Zheng clenched his fists, his expression was extremely firm. He walked to the center of the blood pool, letting the boiling blood submerge half of his body. Next, he breathed in deeply, using iron blood Gu. His blood became blacker and thicker, his skin turned darker. Immediately afterwards, Fang Zheng activated blood blade Gu while maintaining iron blood Gu. Sizzle. From his body, hundreds of iron blood blades flew out, shooting everywhere. Hundreds of cuts appeared on his body, as blood like molten iron flowed out. An intense pleasure hit him. Fang Zheng gritted his teeth as he entered the crucial step, using blood merge Gu. At the same time, on Tian-Ti Mountain, 2 Gu Immortals arrived. One of them looked young and mild like jade. He wore a green robe and had a jade pendant on his waist. What was most eye-catching were his dark green eyebrows, they were sharp and long, reaching down to his waist. It was the rank 6 Gu Immortal of Immortal Crane sect, the one known as Winged Crane Flying Immortal, He Feng Yang. The other was a young and beautiful-looking woman. She had a good figure and her face was like a peach, her eyes were thin and delicate, she wore a pink-blue flowery dress, as it fluttered in the wind. She was another Gu Immortal of Immortal Crane sect, Fairy Tsangyu. The two stepped onto Tian-Ti Mountain, towards the location of Hu Immortal blessed land. What they saw before them was a large green forest, it was plain and ordinary. Hu Immortal blessed land was a separate small world, it was distinct from the world of Central Continent. As long as there were no loopholes in the blessed land, or the entrance of the blessed land was not opened, from outside, one could not see any signs of its existence. If one did not know of its existence, even if Gu Immortals passed by, they would not realize that there was a blessed land here. Fairy Tsangyu looked around, the scenery was that of a jade-green mountain with chirping birds, not one person was in sight. But she smiled to He Feng Yang, it seems that there are indeed many people today, and quite a few familiar faces too. Shi and He Feng Yang did not conceal their traces, because their actions later would cause a commotion that could not be hidden. Thus, when He Feng Yang started to move, the other 9 sects already knew about it. Right now, Gu immortals from the other 9 ancient sects were already lurking close by, observing He Feng Yang and Sang Yu's actions, obtaining first-hand information. He Feng Yang scattered his Gu worms as he praised, "I've heard that fairy has an investigative killer move, known as micro-sense. It can be sold for 5 immortal essence stones in Treasure Yellow Heaven, it has great effect." Lord Flying Immortal is too kind, I merely obtained it from a fortuitous encounter in the reincarnation battlefield. Fairy Tsang Yu delicately laughed. I will need fairy's help in this battle today. He Feng Yang's attitude was very gentle and kind. Lord Flying Immortal is too polite, my weak methods cannot compare to the grand winged crane Flying Immortal's myriad crane soaring flight. It would be a great honor if I can witness it today. Fairy Tsang Yu sighed. He Feng Yang laughed. As he said this, he had already scattered about 10,000 mortal Gu. After 5 minutes, his preparations were complete. Next, we wait for the right time. Fairy, please. He Feng Yang waved his sleeves, as a lump of white cloud flew out. The cloud was only 3 meters from the ground, turning into the shape of a cushion. He Feng Yang leapt onto it and sat down cross-legged. This was a white cloud cushion Gu. It was rank 5 and could assist a Gu master in cultivating, increasing the effect of nurturing their aperture. Although the effect was not great, years of accumulation would still be a significant amount. After He Feng Yang ascended to an immortal, white cloud cushion Gu lost its primary use, and could only be used as his seat. The white cloud cushion was huge, He Feng Yang purposely left enough space for Fairy Tsang Yu. But Fairy Tsang Yu took a look and did not step onto the white cloud cushion, she flicked her finger as a woodpath Gu flew out. The Gu worm drilled into the ground, several breaths later, peach trees started growing, the branches intertwined together, forming a comfortable bed made of peach blossoms. Fairy Tsang Yu lightly chuckled as she stepped onto the bed, half lying down and relaxing herself. At the same time, in Fu Hu Blessed Land, Fang Zheng was at the last step. He activated failed blood demon flower Gu, as all of the flesh and blood in his body became the soil and nutrients for the demon flower to grow. Countless vines grew out of his skin, coiling around his body. The beautiful and demonic blue chrysanthemums blossomed and opened brightly. An intense pain assaulted his entire body, even iron blood Gu was having no effect. Fang Zheng gritted his teeth as his expression contorted, he forced himself to endure it. Quickly use cold blood Gu. Lord Sky Crane's soul was observing Fang Zheng's condition, at this moment, he reminded him. Fang Zheng endured the inhuman pain as he mobilized his primeval essence, activating cold blood Gu. His body shuddered for a few moments, as the temperature of his boiling blood fell, preventing him from suffering the terrible fate of being cooked alive. Use blood sense Gu. Lord Sky Crane gave instructions. Fang Zheng gritted his teeth till blood was dripping out, he activated this rank 5 blood path investigative Gu forcefully. This Gu could allow him to sense others with the same bloodline as him. The closer they were and the thicker their bloodline, the clearer the connection between them. But this time, no matter how Fang Zheng tried to sense him, he could not see any images. How can this be? You and Fang Yuan are brothers by blood, your bloodlines are of the most close relations, meanwhile failed blood demon flower Gu can enhance the effect of blood path Gu worms, how could you not sense anything after such a long time? Fang Zheng was in so much pain he could not talk, but Lord Sky Crane was monitoring him closely, seeing that there was no effect, he became nervous, shouting in panic. Fang Zheng, hang in there. You have trained for so long, enduring so much inhuman hardship, it was all for this. Our sect's 2 Gu immortals have already set off, we are waiting for you to lead the way. Do not give up, do not relax your concentration for even a minute. Lord Sky Crane urged worriedly. Fang Zheng's body was shivering intensely. He could not answer his master, he could only use actions to express his obedience. You still can't sense him? Strange. Too strange. Fang Zheng, you have to extend your sense towards the whole earth goo in the blood pool. If Hu Immortal Blessed Land's whole earth goo has not been destroyed yet, then this whole earth goo would connect to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. It can help you greatly in sensing Fang Yuan. Lord Sky Crane reminded. But Fang Zheng had already sent his sense over to the whole earth goo, there was little effect. To him, he felt like he was in complete darkness, searching for his target was like looking for a speck of light in complete darkness. Be it Fang Zheng or Lord Sky Crane, they did not know about the changes in Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan had become an immortal zombie. His body's blood had turned into a cold jade green zombie blood, from the original healthy red blood. This, no doubt, raised the difficulty for Fang Zheng immensely. No matter how hard Fang Zheng tried, he could not sense Fang Yuan's existence. Damn it! Damn it! Lord Sky Crane was extremely anxious. According to the experience of their previous training, Fang Zheng's endurance had a time limit. 90% of the time had passed already, he was near his limit. Don't tell me, we have to use that trump card. Lord Sky Crane was having an internal struggle. To ensure that this succeeded, Feng Yang had secretly placed some blood path goo worms in Fang Zheng's body. Together with the goo worms in the blood pool, it formed a trump card that could prevent any accidents from happening. But if they used this trump card, Fang Zheng would completely lose his mind, he would activate blood sense goo without caring about his life. Fang Zheng's soul would be consumed intensely, and his blood and flesh would shrivel quickly, there was an extremely high chance of dying. Chapter 699, Attacking Hu Immortal Blessed Land, 2/3. Lord Sky Crane hesitated. On one hand, he had instructions from Feng Yang and was responsible for the heavy task. Reason told him he needed to sacrifice Fang Zheng, this mortal child, for the benefits of Immortal Crane sect, and it was also the most appropriate choice. But on the other hand, his sentiments were obstructing him. Humans were not made of stone, how could they be devoid of emotions? Being with Fang Zheng day and night, watching him grow step by step, looking at him unable to think properly sometimes, looking at him cultivate bitterly with all his effort for vengeance, he really resembles me back then. Lord Sky Crane could not bear to sacrifice. Fang Zheng, you brat, I taught you so many times, this is the most basic refinement method. Sorry, master. Fang Zheng's hand was emitting smoke, the goo worm in the palm of his hand had already turned into a pile of ash. Fang Zheng, practice, practice, and practice more. A disciple of mine, the Grand Lord Sky Crane, can't even arrange the cranes in an arrow formation. Where would my face go if this was spread? Lord Sky Crane shouted in fury. Sorry, master, I will definitely try harder, ugh. Fang Zheng made more mistakes the more nervous he became. Two groups of cranes collided against each other in the air because of his last mistake. The miserable cries of the cranes and the sounds of bone fractures resounded like dumplings dropped into a pot, as they fell down to the ground. The spirit incubating flea was dazed for a moment at beholding this scene before erupting like thunder, you fool. Master, I was wrong, sorry. Fang Zheng faced the wall inside a room for confinement, as he apologized to Lord Sky Crane. Stupid kid, what are you saying sorry for? You fought well. Ah. Master, doesn't the sect prohibit internal fights? Humph, Zhang Nan's master is Xianxia, back then I didn't find him pleasing to my eyes and beat him till his head was swollen. I was also confined longer than you. I might have died already, but as my disciple, how could you be bullied by others? Lord Sky Crane snickered. Master. Fang Zheng choked with sobs, his eyes reddened and tears started forming in his eyes. Idiot, what are you crying for? A man does not easily shed tears. Lord Sky Crane berated. Yes, master. Sorry, master. This crucial moment seemed to span endlessly. The past scenes floated by one in Lord Sky Crane's mind. He seemed to hear being called master again and again. Lord Sky Crane roared in a voice so loud that it could awaken the dead, Fang Zheng, persevere. Have you forgotten the pain Fang Yuan inflicted upon you? Forgotten how your fellow disciples beat you black and blue when you first arrived at Immortal Crane's sect? Forgotten the grieving ghosts of your clan, forgotten how miserably your uncle and aunt had died at Fang Yuan's hands? Your hatred, your effort, all of it need to be shown at this moment. You can't fail, you can't give up. I will definitely sense him, definitely. Fang Zheng's spirit was stirred up when he heard Lord Sky Crane's roar. Get latest. Oval ch. Ters on n. V e lbj/n dot c/. M. However, he still only sensed endless darkness. No matter how much effort he exerted, no matter how he used his energy, he still could not sense any indication. Why? Why? Fang Zheng's mind was shaken and was starting to turn chaotic when the memories of that unbearable past hidden deep within him started surfacing one after another. The shadow which Fang Yuan had cast upon Fang Zheng since youth seemed to be the same as this darkness he was sensing, causing Fang Zheng to feel boundless pressure and not a trace of light. Fang Zheng felt he was an extremely tiny speck in this vast darkness. Hesitation, bewilderment, loneliness, helplessness, all sorts of feelings gushed in his heart. Sorry, master, I failed. Tears fell down Fang Zheng's eyes as his body reached the limit and his mind was close to collapsing. No. You can't fail, I don't allow it. Lord Sky Crane was also anxious, shouting repeatedly. However, Fang Zheng was slowly unable to hear him. He was about to fall unconscious like in the previous drills. Damn it, damn it. Lord Sky Crane shouted in his heart. He thought of his possession plan, and thought of the punishment he Feng Yang would give if he failed this task. Fang Zheng, you brat, all my efforts to cultivate you are in vain. In the end, you are still unable to get rid of that man's shadow. Since that is the case, then let me give you a hand. Lord Sky Crane's thoughts flashed before he finally convinced himself. The situation also forced him into making this choice. He used that trump card. Instantly, the whole blood pool let out bright lights, sweeping away the previous darkness. Goo worms concealed around the blood pool activated one after another on Fang Zheng's body. Ah! Fang Zheng's body spasmed intensely like he was electrocuted. He fiercely raised his head and spread his arms, clenching his fists so tightly that the nails pierced into the flesh. An incomparable pain attacked his mind, causing his eyes to roll backwards and show the whites. Almost in the next breath of time, Fang Zheng's roar stopped abruptly. He lost his consciousness, but under the effects of goo worms, he still continued to activate failed blood demon flower goo, and was still using blood sense goo to sense Fang Yuan's existence. The blood pool seethed and gurgled. Squeak squeak, the failed blood demon flowers started growing rapidly, emitting bone-chilling sounds. Fang Zheng maintained his position, with his head raised and arms spread, without budging in the slightest, like a statue. The demonic vines had been small and thin like needles, but now these vines grew thicker, at least as thick as fingers. The largest vine grew from the depths of Fang Zheng's throat and extended out from his mouth like a python. Besides this, there were vines growing out from his ears and nostrils. Soon, vines grew out from every pore on his skin. Fang Zheng had thoroughly turned into nourishment for the demon flowers, his body was cut open everywhere, there was nothing remaining of his original appearance, just like a flower statue that had been tastefully trimmed. Brat. Looking at Fang Zheng transforming into this miserable appearance, Lord Sky Crane's original anxiety and nervousness disappeared. He felt a bleak emptiness that spread to the depths of his heart. It was extremely unbearable. This unbearable feeling soon turned into a heavy guilt that filled Lord Sky Crane's mind. Brat, Master, has done you an injustice. Lord Sky Crane's soul, which was stored in the spirit incubating flea, was unexpectedly letting out drops of soul tears. He Feng Yang's arrangements have been activated. In the depths of Fu Hu blessed land, Immortal Crane Sect's third supreme elder slowly opened his eyes and mumbled. He thought of the matter that He Feng Yang had specially requested of him before he left. The third elder, Lord Tiger Demon, used his immortal essence to activate an Immortal Gu that gracefully flew out of the hall. This Immortal Gu was not Lord Tiger Demon's, but had been borrowed by He Feng Yang from Lady Sang Xian. It was a rank 6 information path Immortal Gu, mutual sense. In 10 or so breaths of time, the Immortal Gu descended down to over the blood pool, above Fang Zheng. This is, Immortal Gu. Lord Sky Crane's eyes opened wide in shock. Mutual sense Immortal Gu let out a grey light pillar. The smoke-like light pillar covered Fang Zheng. Several breaths later, the grey light pillar was dyed red with Fang Zheng's blood. Where is this? Fang Zheng's remaining consciousness surveyed his surroundings. It was darkness around him. No matter where he walked and no matter how far, the surroundings were still covered in deep and boundless darkness. However, right at this time, a blood-red light speck appeared ahead of Fang Zheng. Ah! That is. Fang Zheng tried walking towards the light. When he reached closer, he sensed a familiar aura from the blood-red light speck. This is older brother's, no, Fang Yuan's aura. Master, Master, do you hear me? I have succeeded. I finally sensed him. Fang Zheng was extremely excited and tried to speak, but no words came out. His mouth was opened so wide that it had almost deformed. It was being held in place by the thick demon flower vines. But a joyful teardrop fell down from the corner of his eye. This tear fiercely shook Lord Sky Crane's soul. He sank down into deathly silence. Fang Zheng approached the blood-red light speck. Suddenly the light speck let out an extremely powerful suction force that completely caught Fang Zheng off guard, absorbing his remaining consciousness. At this moment, in Hu Immortal blessed land, Fang Yuan gave a sound of surprise and slowly opened his eyes. He sensed a blood pool, sensed Fang Zheng's body, sensed the lush, enchanting failed blood demon flowers, sensed the spirit incubating flea, sensed the information path mutual sense Immortal Gu above. So it is like this. Fang Yuan sneered, my cute little brother, you are finally going to die. No, in the words of the righteous path, you are sacrificing yourself for the group. Ha ha ha. What happened? Tai Bai Yun Sheng, who was sitting to the side, saw Fang Yuan suddenly speaking and immediately questioned. At the other side from him were He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan, who similarly casted inquiring gazes at Fang Yuan. Such a coincidence. I had invited you guys to talk about Daoist Gu business, but it seems Immortal Crane sect is making an attack. Fang Yuan smiled. He then intentionally lowered his eyes and waved his hand. The other side used my own little brother and used the Immortal Gu, mutual sense, to get my location. Everyone, first leave Dang Hun Palace and lie in ambush. My senior brother will explain the details to you. Immortal Gu mutual sense could allow two parties to sense each other's situation. At this moment, Fang Zheng and Fang Yuan had sensed each other's situation through blood sense Gu and mutual sense Immortal Gu. Naturally, because of the difference in strength between the two sides, Fang Yuan was able to sense everything about Fang Zheng while Fang Zheng could only see things through Fang Yuan's eyes. His perception was limited and he was not even able to sense the immortal aperture inside Fang Yuan. He Lulan and Fairy Li Shan glanced at each other, and saw the heavy mood in the other's eyes. They were hindered by the snowy mountain alliance and could not easily avoid this, they could only brace themselves to fight alongside Fong Yuan. On Tian Ti Mountain, He Feng Yang, who was sitting on a white cloud cushion Gu, suddenly opened his eyes. The time is ripe. A sharp light burst out of his eyes as he took out an Immortal Gu. Expand space Immortal Gu. Fairy Xianxia softly breathed out when she saw the Immortal Gu. This Immortal Gu belonged to Immortal Crane Sect's second Supreme Elder, its ability was to expand the space of a blessed land. He Feng Yang had borrowed it to use it as the core of an Immortal Killer move. Immortal Killer move, Force Intrusion. Over 10 beads of green grape Immortal Essence were spent in an instant. An enormous aura rose up and formed translucent ripples in the air. Crack. Like the sound of glass breaking, space broke apart in front of He Feng Yang and Fairy Xianxia, revealing the terrain of Hu Immortal Blessed Land. He Feng Yang leisurely stored expand space Immortal Gu before glancing at Fairy Xianxia and inviting in a gentlemanly voice, "Fairy, please enter." Fairy Xianxia delicately laughed before stepping forward in the direction of Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Suddenly, lightning struck towards her. Chapter 700, Attacking Hu Immortal Blessed Land, 3/3. Fairy Xiangxia's mind was immediately alerted. The flash of lightning came quickly, it tore through the air and emitting a crackling sound like that of sparks. Even though there are many Gu Immortals present, our sect had won in our scheme earlier, according to the rules, the other 9 great ancient sects can merely observe this. If they are not from the 9 sects, which demonic path Gu Immortal would dare to take a risk and mess with Immortal Crane sect? In an instant, Fairy Xiangxia's mind was flashing with thoughts. At the same time, her fingers did not slow down, her 10 dainty fingers were fluttering around, about to activate a killer move to strike back. But at the next moment, He Feng Yang stopped her. "Fairy, wait." Saying this, he pulled Fairy Xianxia to one side, while opening up the hole leading to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. The flash of lightning ignored the two of them, it entered Hu Immortal Blessed Land through this hole. Using this time, Fairy Xianxia saw the lightning's true identity. This is the earthly calamity, blue charm lightning shadow. He Feng Yang laughed plainly. This is an earthly calamity targeting Hu Immortal Blessed Land. After Fong Yuan discarded a huge portion of Hu Immortal Blessed Land, he sent it out of the Blessed Land. To think that this blue charm lightning shadow did not vanish, instead it had been hiding on Tian Ti Mountain. Great. Blue charm lightning shadow has good battle strength, about the mid-tier of rank 6. With it leading from the front, we would have an easier time. Fairy Xiangxia's brows eased, she started smiling. Fong Yuan has decisiveness, he really is quite impressive, directly discarding close to a quarter of the Blessed Land. But his strength is simply too low, no matter how much he plots, it is useless. He Feng Yang sighed, entering Hu Immortal Blessed Land along with Fairy Xianxia. Once they got in, a wave of heavenly power descended on them, sealing all of the mortal Gu in their hands. But immediately after, He Feng Yang and Fairy Xiangxia's bodies shone with an orange and yellow light. This was the effect of the rank 7 one's own way Immortal Gu, it could prevent their mortal Gu from being suppressed, and let them be activated normally. Fairy Xianxia shut her eyes, after a few breaths, she opened them again. We are at the west area of Hu Immortal Blessed Land, the blue charm lightning shadow has already gone to the center of the Blessed Land, towards Dang Hun Mountain. He Feng Yang nodded, as I expected, within Hu Immortal Blessed Land, the safest place is Dang Hun Mountain. The blue charm lightning shadow's first target is the Blessed Land's owner. Back then, Hu Immortal was caught off guard and killed by the blue charm lightning shadow. Since it is heading for Dang Hun Mountain, that means Fong Yuan is hiding inside Dang Hun Mountain, let's go there. Okay. I've always wanted to see what the legendary Dang Hun Mountain looks like. Fairy Xianxia laughed lightly. With the blue charm lightning shadow leading the way, we can also see what kind of ambush the enemy has prepared. He Feng Yang said, activating expand space Immortal Gu, using another immortal killer move as the hole behind him closed in the blessed land. That's the immortal killer move, force closure. Immortal Crane sect is so petty, they are not letting us watch. In this battle, if Immortal Crane sect fails, whether the door is closed or not, we will take over. If Immortal Crane sect wins, whether the door opens or not, we will leave. Letting us watch would not affect anything. Humph, they are projecting their own shortcomings onto others. Did they really think we would act out of greed? Outside, on Tian Ti Mountain, the Gu immortals from Central Continent's other 9 great sects were conversing using their divine senses. Bai Wang, how high do you think Immortal Crane sect's chance of succeeding is? Gu immortal Zhang Wenjiu asked casually. Relatively high. Even though we have been obstructing them in secret, causing them to only send 2 Gu immortals in the end to take back Hu immortal blessed land, they still have the battle strength of 2 Gu immortals and now the blue charm lightning shadow. Feng Yuan who controls Hu immortal blessed land is a mere mortal, how can he block Immortal Crane sect? Bai Weng answered. That's not what I think. According to the investigation of us, Spirit Butterfly Valley, Feng Yuan had refined fixed immortal travel in 3 kings blessed land, and came here alone. How is that possible? As a mortal, how could he refine an immortal Gu, how could he have an image of Hu immortal blessed land scenery? Behind him, there is definitely a mastermind. Since the other party dared to snatch Hu immortal blessed land from the 10 ancient sects, I am sure they have the battle strength to protect it. Maybe, they might be able to resist Immortal Crane sect's attack. Rainbow Butterfly Immortal Concubine Han Kai Xian said. Immortal Concubine also does not speak without reason. Gu Immortal Du Ting laughed, if Immortal Crane sect fails, do we have a competition to decide the victor or choose to have an agreement among the 10 sects first before striking? This was a crucial problem, the Gu immortals from the 9 sects fell into silence. Of course we'll discuss it in detail another day. We are the 10 great ancient sects, not rabid dogs scavenging for food. Myriad Dragon Doc's Gu Immortal Guan Chao Zhe immediately said. Among the Gu immortals present, Guan Chao Zhe had the lowest battle strength. If they battled, he would be at the greatest disadvantage. This is inappropriate, this is inappropriate. Green Canary Boy shook his head. We should strike while the iron is hot, this is just a blessed land, we should decide on it today and not waste more time. Great Lord Lai Yang pretended to be unaware. Strange, didn't Vicious Lightning Fiend of your Myriad Dragon Doc just end his closed cultivation? Why would you be sent here for this contest for Hu immortal blessed land? Poison Count Lu Su laughed coldly as he pointed out Guan Chao Zhe's weakness. The Gu immortals quickly formed a consensus, if Immortal Crane sect failed, they would have a competition to decide who the blessed land belongs to. If Immortal Crane sect won, they would also have a competition, the sect that places first would have priority in reaching an agreement with Immortal Crane sect for the Guts Gu. Guts Gu could raise the foundation of a sect, it was even useful to Gu immortals. Any sect would not be able to take it solely for themselves, when the other 9 sects exert pressure, they would be forced to sell it. You guys. Guan Chao Zhe was fuming on the outside, but he was snickering on the inside. At the same time as the discussion between the Gu immortals of the 9 sects, within Hu immortal blessed land, He Feng Yang and Fairy Xianxia were slowly flying towards Dang Hun Mountain. This is a blood pool. Halfway there, He Feng Yang gave a curious gaze. 7 sit n. Velb. /n, dot, c/. M for L. Test. Vels. He found that within Hu immortal blessed land, there was a huge blood pool, it was so huge it could be called a blood lake. Humph, another blood path scoundrel. Fairy Xianxia frowned, saying in a despising tone. Blood path cultivators harm all living beings in this world, as it can allow them to raise their battle strength. This is the reason why countless Gu masters choose this path. Every 10 years, Heavenly Court would issue the Demon Judgment Board, and many blood path Gu masters would be on it. Blood Sea Ancestor, he truly caused much harm to the world. He Feng Yang criticized, thrusting with his palm as a jade lightning ball flew towards it. Boom boom boom. After a series of explosions, the blood pool was destroyed, turning into ruins. After destroying the blood pool, the two immortals continued to fly towards Dang Hun Mountain. On the way, Fairy Xianxia shook her head. This Hu Immortal blessed land is managed too poorly, it is almost completely desolate. I've heard that this place had large groups of foxes in the past, but now, after flying for so long, we have not seen a single myriad fox group. There are few fox groups, but there are surely a lot of rock men. Fang Yuan is immortal after all, he only knows how to use Guts Gu to increase the production of rock men. But he does not know that he is pursuing tiny gains while discarding the foundations. Hu Immortal was an enslavement path. Gu Immortal, enslavement path was the main law in her blessed land, it is best for rearing fox groups. He Feng Yang laughed in disdain. Hu Immortal blessed land is truly wasted in his hands. Once it is in our sect, Hu Immortal blessed land will develop greatly, but I wonder who in the sect would be its owner. Fairy Xianxia sighed. Hearing that, He Feng Yang sighed. According to the rules, after we recover it, Hu Immortal blessed land would be a public blessed land of Immortal Crane sect, we would only have a limited time in operating it after getting it. But this managing right is also extremely lucrative. After all, the center of the blessed land is Dang Hun Mountain, it is a gold mine. The scariest part is that this gold mine will never run out. Fairy Xianxia nodded in agreement. The two of them talked along the way, not facing any obstruction. This raised their confidence that the blessed land was in terrible shape. They started to fly faster, and when they were in front of Dang Hun Mountain, they were already talking about what they would do when Dang Hun Mountain belongs to them. In the air above Dang Hun Mountain, the blue charm lightning shadow was shrieking and charging, attacking Dang Hun Mountain. But though it was formed from an earthly calamity, it had life as well. Dang Hun Mountain's vibration could attack its soul, its weakness. Fang Yuan, come out. You should know that Dang Hun Mountain can only block the blue charm lightning shadow because it has no Gu worms. Even if you raise Dang Hun Mountain's power to its limits, you cannot block two Gu immortals. He Feng Yang shouted, his voice could pierce through heaven and earth. Fang Yuan, a wise man submits to circumstances, I am sure the land spirit is beside you now. Then you should know that Hu Immortal blessed land cannot seal our mortal Gu. Furthermore, we've brought an immortal Gu. Fairy Xianxia followed up, pressuring Fang Yuan. Thus, Fang Yuan walked out, standing on Dang Hun Mountain's peak. He Feng Yang's heart tightened, but he quickly relaxed. This was a rank 6 immortal zombie. Immortal zombies had great weaknesses, they could not produce immortal essence and their blessed land would shrivel and break apart at set intervals, thus their battle strength was usually below ordinary Gu immortals. Immortal Crane sect has finally lost their patience. You want my blessed land, aren't you afraid I will destroy Dang Hun Mountain? Fang Yuan said. You are. Fang Yuan. He Feng Yang squinted, he found it unbelievable. Only a year had passed, how could Fang Yuan become an immortal zombie? While He Feng Yang was suspicious and confused, Fairy Xianxia spoke beside him, smiling, we came prepared, of course, how could we allow you to destroy Dang Hun Mountain? If you think using Dang Hun Mountain could threaten us, then you are very much mistaken. Oh, that's right, we can even reduce Dang Hun Mountain's pressure until it is insignificant. By then, we would not need to strike, this blue charm lightning shadow alone can kill you. Fong Yuan looked at the blue charm lightning shadow in the air. This human-shaped lightning was growling non-stop, charging towards Dang Hun Mountain but was forced back each time by the intense vibrations. Fong Yuan heaved a long sigh. Fairy Tsangyu thought that this was a chance, and continued, as long as you give up the ownership of the blessed land, we can forget past matters, and even accept you as a disciple of our sect. But I remember, Immortal Crane's sect promised to give me the position of an elder back then. Fong Yuan retorted. He Feng Yang laughed coldly. Times have changed, Fong Yuan, you are a smart man, can't you see the circumstances now? Fong Yuan heard this and he smirked. Oh. The circumstances now, oh, let me have a good look. Just after he said this, the aura of Immortal Gu burst out in his body. This is. Fairy Tsang-Yu's beautiful face transformed. Immortal Gu, so many Immortal Gu. He Feng Yang could not tell which Immortal Gu they were, but the aura would not lie to him, his eyes were burning with an intense light of greed. But at the next moment, 3 figures appeared around Fong Yuan. He Lu Lan, Tai Bai Yun Sheng, Fairy Li Shan. 2 rank 6, 1 rank 7. Not only that, each of them gave off an intense Immortal Gu aura, not concealing it at all. Fairy Tsang-Yu's complexion changed. He Feng Yang's greedy gaze also turned into one of uncontrollable shock. Fong Yuan's force was so powerful it was out of his imagination. Next, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 beast figures flew out from Dang Hun Mountain and arrived in 8 surrounding directions. Ice Spike Divine Ape, Phoenix Feather Lava Crocodile, Golden Sand Dark Stallion, Azure Dragon Vine, 8 desolate beasts formed an encirclement. This is a trap. He Feng Yang growled, his body shuddering. Fairy Tsang-Yu suddenly felt outnumbered, her face turned pale and she was speechless. Even the blue charm lightning shadow in the air stopped its angry growl. Fong Yuan's plain voice came from Dang Hun Mountain once again. Oh, I have seen the current circumstances very clearly now, but the question is, have you?